Please excuse the dirty shirt, guys. I've been painting the bathroom and it looks like I got some paint on the t-shirt. It is what it is. I just wanted to say that I shot an introduction that's going to come after this video, this short little clip here that I'm shooting. But in that introduction, I forgot to mention that the course that I'm sharing with you guys, it was shot in 1080p at 60 frames per second when I shot the video years ago, but I've lost the source files, so I had to locate the course on YouTube. I had it listed as an unlisted video. It wasn't public. But when you post something to YouTube, you guys, when you have the option of downloading a video that you've uploaded to YouTube. Now, when you download a video off of YouTube that you've posted, it never matches the image quality or the video quality. So, like, let's just say you upload a video in 2.7K at 60 frames per second. If you download that video off of YouTube after it's been posted, it's not going to look as clean. It's not going to look as sharp as the source videos. So I've lost the source videos. It was on an old laptop that has since died. So I had to pull the course off of YouTube. And because of that, it's going to be grainy. The image quality isn't going to be all that great, the audio, etc., but it's still completely viewable. So let's get into the introduction, guys, and then we'll get into the course. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to a new video. The video that comes after this is years old, and I was hesitant to even share it publicly. It's an old diet course that I put together that was available for purchase at one point in time years ago on my old URL, sacredhealingtools.com. I no longer own that .com. I got screwed by my domain registrar. I had to give it up. My new website is www.serpentsource.com. And before we continue, I just want to ask that if you guys are a fan of my work, please go to serpentsource.com and put in your email. When you go to the .com, it'll take you to a coming soon page. But on the coming soon page, there's a spot that you can enter your email. And if you enter your email and join the email list, you will get the monthly newsletter, a bunch of other stuff that's only going to be sent to people that join the mailing list. So I'm waiting to get over 60 people on the mailing list before I send the first newsletter out. So if you're wondering where the newsletter is, I'm waiting for just a few more people to join before I launch the first newsletter. But to get into the information about the following video, again, I was really hesitant to share this publicly because I am a harsh critic of my own work, and this video is years old, multiple years old. It's close to 4 hours long. I think it's about 3.5 actually, hours long. And at the time when I made this, I thought it was a really good piece of work that I put together. But I have this habit, and I think it's a good thing actually, of every once in a while I'll go back and review my old work. And more often than not, when I review my old work, I ask myself, what the fuck was I thinking? I appear ungrounded. It's like I'm just my own worst critic, right? And that's a good thing because that's part of growing, right? Seeing where you made mistakes, seeing where you could have done things better, etc. So that's why I'm always trying to improve my work, because when I go back and look at my own work, it's like, God damn, I could have done this so much better, etc. But the following video, I do still think that it has some important information that can help people. This diet course was available for purchase. I charged $20 for it. Multiple people said that was way too low of a price, but again, guys, I wanted the information to get to as many people as possible. And I think $20 was a pretty fair price for an entire course. It came with an ebook that I wrote. I still have the ebook. I recently found it. I thought I lost it, so maybe I'll make that available for free once my website goes out of the coming soon phase and goes into actually launching. There's a good chance I'll offer the PDF that I put together. It's over 26 pages, a lot of information condensed into a very easy to read ebook. It won't take you long to read. There's recipes, what to eat, what not to eat, the basic kind of structure of the diet course and what its purpose is, etc. So anyways, guys, again, this is the Life Force Diet Mastery System. It's years old. When I go back and watch it, there's times where I cringe, and it's like, the fuck? I could have done this so much better. So with that being said, I am going to patch the diet course with update 1.1, where I'm going to go back and recreate the course, alter things about it, etc. So from now on, I think I'm just going to make this 100% free. And I will make the update 1.1 free etc. So if you get benefit from this video, if you want to support my work, you can go to my PayPal and donate. Most of these materials from now on, I'm not going to charge for. Even on the new.com, I will have some paid courses, but for the most part, 99% of it's going to be free. I want the information to get out there. So if you do derive benefit from my work and you want to support my content, you can donate to my channel. You can go over to my Patreon page and become a member. There's a bunch of different ways you can support this channel. So yeah, guys, I did a poll, or not necessarily a poll. I posted something on Instagram about sharing this post, or this course, excuse me, publicly, and a lot of people want to see it. So what the hell? Let's post it. I just want everyone to know that I'm aware that parts of this course are flawed, but it is what it is. Who cares? You know, who gives a hell? Or who gives a damn? I think it's important to let go of things, because by letting go of certain things, you can make room for growth, right? So this is, I can't remember how old this is. I think it's like 5 years old or older, guys. So it's pretty old. But with that being said, let's get right into the course, guys. I've had to edit a couple things out of it, which you'll probably notice when you watch this. There was some sensitive information that I foolishly included in the course. So I went in and edited it out. And yeah, we're going to make it public. So if you like this video, guys, please hit the thumbs up button. Please leave a comment. It helps so much with the algorithm. If everybody that watches my videos just left a simple comment, I'm pretty sure my views would get way more, or my videos would get way more views. I don't understand why people watch this stuff without commenting. If you enjoy my work, please hit the like button. Please. Like, with how many people watch my videos, there's not enough likes. So if you want to see my work get bigger or to circulate and reach more people, hit the like button, leave a comment. Right? It's that simple. But with that being said, let's get right in to the full-length Life Force Diet Mastery System. Again, this is really old. It's outdated, and patch 1.1 will be coming, or it will be available in the coming months. Enjoy the video. Welcome, everybody. My name is Brandon. I'm a researcher, natural health advocate, philosopher, and I want to thank you for being here with me on this course. Let's dive right into it. Years ago, in my early 20s, I had a handful of mystical experiences known as Kundalini awakenings. And in the climax, if you will, of these experiences, I downloaded a large handful of information directly from the Kundalini energy. And one of the things that the Kundalini taught me was the influence that diet has on our mind, on the health of our bodies, on the health of our spiritual development, or lack thereof. The Kundalini energy showed me directly that what we put into our body not only affects our health, ladies and gentlemen, on a physical level, on a cellular level, on a molecular level, but it also affects our spirit and our spiritual life. What we eat either fuels and fans the flames of spiritual growth, or it throws water on that flame and mutes it out. And what has happened here in this world that I call the Matrix is, on a collective mass level, the New World Order has provided food to the masses that has largely, almost entirely, muted the flames of spiritual growth within the mass collective herd of humanity. There is a reason why there are toxic additives in your tap water. There is a reason why there are synthetics and hormone disruptors and excessive irons and iron and all sorts of stuff and unnecessary garbage in the food at the store, folks. There is a reason behind all of this. There is a design behind the food supply. The people who run the show here are master chemists. They are master magicians. They are master psychologists, and they are using humanity as a mass experiment through food, through water, and largely through air. Now, there's other things going on as well, but food, water, and air, as you'll learn later in this course, are the foundations of physical health for human beings and all animals. Folks, long story short, what we put into our system either helps us become more psychic and clairvoyant. What we eat either increases our spiritual development and actually promotes it, or it destroys it. We are constantly supposed to be upgrading, folks. And one of the greatest ways to upgrade your system, and we're going to go over this extensively in this course, is through changing what you eat, getting more life force into your system. And the New World Order, the Matrix, the architects, the archons, they want to snuff out the life force in your system by feeding you garbage bullshit, excuse my language, because by doing that, they destroy the physical body, which is the temple. There's Luna. The physical body is the temple, folks, that holds the spirit. And by destroying human health on a physical level, on a cellular, molecular, tissue level, ladies and gentlemen, on a molecular level, again, a cellular level, tissue, on an organ level, by destroying the health of your blood, your liver, you name it, they mute out the body's ability to be in symbiosis with the spirit that is contained within the flesh vehicle. So, in the next segment, we're going to go over the three fundamental goals of this course. I get a little bit repetitive in that 15 to 18 minute segment, but it's by design. I want you to hear what the purpose of this course is so it solidifies in your mind. But on a deeper level, the purpose of this course is to awaken the spirit within your body through you putting foods in your system and taking care of your health in a much different way than you may already be doing. I'm not 100% sure how you eat currently. But I'm here to tell you, if you put the right foods in your system, if you exclude the wrong foods, you will grow physically, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And there's a good chance that if you fill your body with the right antioxidants, the high ORAC foods, the proper sprouts and living constituents, the living food, your consciousness is going to flower and you're going to become more clairvoyant, more psychic. You'll be able to read people's mind to some extent. Yes, that is a phenomenon that can come through eating properly. This is how God designed us to operate. We are designed to have the full power of our minds, folks. So, the Life Force Diet Mastery System. This is about you eating life force, consuming life force, generating and accumulating life force at all times. You can go out and walk barefoot on the earth and ground yourself and start to receive negatively charged electrons from the earth. This is all energy. We live in an electron blanket. We live in an energy blanket. And what I mean by an electron blanket, folks, is that when you go stand barefoot on the earth, that's all free negatively charged electrons. These negatively charged electrons, when you stand barefoot on the earth, go into your feet meridians and go up into your body and start to reduce inflammation. It also provides an antioxidant effect on your body and your mind. Everything's connected. But everything is energy. We live in an energy blanket. You go outside in nature and there's all sorts of energy everywhere. Everything is light and energy. The food is energy. The air is energy. The water is energy. The elements, all of it. We're designed in a way by the Creator to be constantly absorbing information from our environment that keeps us healthy. But the Matrix has separated that connection and they want us unhealthy. So let's just dive right into it. I love you all and may peace be with you. Part of the reason why I designed this system is to provide a system for people that allows them to grow spiritually through diet. And that's really one of the main purposes of diet, folks. You see, the Creator created us in a way where we're supposed to have a symbiotic relationship with the earth and the foods that we eat from the earth. The earth provides everything that we need. Every nutrient, every vitamin, every mineral, every protein, every carbohydrate, every fat is provided by the earth, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if we live according to natural law and eat the foods that God intended for us to eat, the natural foods, we grow not only physically strong, we grow mentally strong and spiritually strong. Through diet, you can become spiritually realized. You can stimulate, ladies and gentlemen, your highest potential. Which brings me to my next point. One of the purposes of this diet system is to align you with something known as arete, which is a Stoic term. It's a Greek term, that was used heavily by the Stoic philosophers, and arete represents or symbolizes, if you will, we can define it as living with excellence or moral excellence. I like to define it as living with virtue. It's you doing your best at all times, regardless of what's going on in your life, regardless of what's going on with, the stress of the world and this, that, and the other. So this diet system helps align you with arete. Now, there's a couple of terms here that I want to explain before we continue. But before I go on and discuss what arete really is, I want to discuss the three main purposes or goals of this diet. Number one, this diet system is designed to help you get accustomed to eating nothing but real food designed by nature. This diet system is designed to help you eat the way that God intended for you to eat, which is real food, created by the Creator, created by nature. This diet system is designed to help your body and your mind become accustomed to eating nothing but real food. And if you follow this diet system properly and eat the foods on the food pyramid while excluding the foods on the do not eat list, you will, in my opinion, grow stronger and your life will flower. Things will change for you because when you put the correct building blocks into your vessel, into your body, you now have the fuel necessary to live life the way you want to live your life. If you're eating the wrong foods, folks, if you're eating all of the hydrogenated oils and the bad fats and the high fructose corn syrups and all the nonsense, it's very difficult for your body, which was designed by God, to consume real raw materials from nature. It's very hard for your body to actually grow, and it's very difficult for you to stay well and healthy. So, number one, this diet system is designed to help your body and mind, to train your body and mind to become fully okay with and accustomed to and adjusted to eating nothing but real food. I want to help you live by the laws of nature, which is, one of the laws of nature is to eat from the garden, to eat from nature, not to eat all the prepackaged, processed synthetics, pesticides, herbicides, and all the garbage. So that's number one. There's a training period to this to get your body and mind adjusted and accustomed to eating real food. And we can define that as simply living according to natural law. We weren't put here to eat from, soda cans and to drink out of aluminum. It's just insane how far we've fallen. Number two, the second goal of this diet is to help you increase your health, your vitality, your vigor, your well-being, your spiritual power, your psychic abilities, and your health. And this is done through eating real food, living according to natural law. Excluding toxins from your system, folks, will help you grow. Again, excluding toxins from your body, from your diet, will help you grow. In the same way that a plant cannot grow properly if you dump poison on it, you, as a human, cannot grow properly physically, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, if you're eating the wrong foods. So through the adjustment period, which is tier number 1 of this diet, where you get used to eating real food, you are going to grow. And as you grow, you will become a greater version of yourself. You will experience greater health. You will feel better. And when you feel better, you can get more done in life. You'll have more power, ladies and gentlemen. So power, the attainment of raw power through modulating what you eat and changing yourself for the better, is a very important part of life. And that's one of the reasons why, I put this together. Through caring about what you eat, by caring for your body, for taking daily steps towards greater health, you become a more powerful version of yourself. And what is power? Power is having the energy to get done what you need to get done. Power is actually having radiant health in a very sick world. We cannot achieve radiant health if we're eating the wrong foods, if we're breathing toxic air, if we're drinking bad water. So we'll go over more of that in just a second. But to recap, number 1, this system is designed to get you used to eating nothing but real food and to live according to natural law, which is to eat from the garden, to eat from the world that you live in the way God intended you to eat. Number 2, this diet system is the second goal, is to help you increase your health, your spiritual health, your mental well-being, your confidence, all of it, your physical health. And number 3, folks, the third goal of this diet system, and now we're going to come back to Arete. As I mentioned, we had to kind of dovetail out of that to come back full circle. The third goal of this diet system, this lifestyle, is to help you align yourself with Arete. And Arete is moral excellence. It is a Greek term that was used by practitioners of Stoicism, or the Stoic philosophers used this term Arete frequently. It stands for living with moral excellence, living with virtue, doing your best in every avenue of your life. And Arete, by taking care of your health, that is one of the greatest forms of moral excellence. That is one of the most potent practices, ladies and gentlemen, of living with virtue. By caring about what you put into your body, by caring for your body, by caring about the effect that what you eat has on the environment, that is a direct stimulation of having moral excellence as well. Arete is the art of doing everything to your greatest ability. It's a way of living where you stop making excuses and you take personal responsibility for everything in your life. So Arete, to some extent, can be defined as a moral code. But I want to wrap this up because I don't want to keep you too long on Arete, but it's a very important principle. Arete is moral excellence. One of the greatest ways to practice moral excellence and to bring it into your life is to modulate and augment the foods that you eat, to care for your body by eating real food. This will enhance your life 10,000-fold. It will awaken your spirit, ladies and gentlemen, caring for what you eat. It will upgrade your body. You will feel better. And it is a direct byproduct of, again, living with Arete, living with moral excellence. What you eat says a lot about your moral code, and what you consume on a daily basis says a lot about so many things. So, now there's one more Stoic term that I want to run by you before we continue with this system. Arete in Stoic philosophy is a prerequisite to living with eudaimonia. Eudaimonia can be defined as thriving. It is or flourishing, complete and utter happiness. It is eudaimonia, the goal of Stoic philosophy. It is a state of being that we were all designed to live in. Yet we don't live aligned with eudaimonia anymore because we don't practice Arete. So Arete is the vehicle that we use to pursue eudaimonia. And eudaimonia is enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. It is complete perfection of your life. It is you attaining your wildest and deepest desires and dreams. It's you living the way that nature intended you to live, which is thriving. So here in this matrix that we live in, we do not practice arete. Most people do not have a moral code. They do not practice moral excellence. They eat anything and everything that they want. This, by default, takes their soul out of alignment with arete. They're not aligned with arete, and therefore they never achieve eudaimonia, which is perfect living, enlightenment, folks. You can refer to this in some sense as kundalini. God intended for us to live happy, to thrive, to have everything that we need. This is eudaimonia. So I just want to wrap this up one more time, and I'll put a chart on the screen right now to help clarify this calculation. By living with arete, by practicing moral excellence, by caring about our body and others and having compassion, we pursue, or we get on the right track, if you will, to achieve eudaimonia. So this system, through modulating and augmenting your diet, is going to help you get into that vehicle of arete to drive towards eudaimonia, the greatest, happiest version of your life. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you succeed financially. I want to see you become radiantly healthy so that by doing so, you can lead by example and help others become healthy. You have the ability to experience profound and very beautiful states of health and consciousness. There is so much more to life, ladies and gentlemen, than what we're being told. And through eating the right way, we start to put the necessary building blocks back into our system so that we can actually have the fuel necessary to wake up in this matrix and to be the best version of ourselves. So one more time, and not to be repetitive, but repetition of a message constitutes mental programming. There are three main goals of this diet for you. Number one, to get you and your body, your mind, and your soul adjusted to and accustomed to eating nothing but real food the way that God intended you to eat. This is so absolutely important in this world where everything's so fake and there's just so much junk food and crap. Number two, the second goal of this diet is to help you increase your health levels, your well-being, your confidence, your peace of mind, your strength, your inner power. Number three, the third goal of this diet system is to help align you with arete, living with virtue, moral excellence, so that you can get closer to eudaimonia, which is your higher self, the greatest version of yourself. And one of the greatest practices of arete is through what you eat. By eating real food, you're giving your body real nourishment. Real nourishment provides the necessary building blocks so that your spirit, which is housed within your body, can wake up. And when your spirit wakes up, ladies and gentlemen, you experience power, you experience arete firsthand. And arete, if you live with arete, if you live with moral excellence, if you start taking action instead of making excuses for everything, you will pursue or go down the road to eudaimonia, which is you attaining and achieving everything that you want and desire in life. There is no reason why you should have to suffer, in regards to your health. There's no reason why you have to be unhealthy. There's no reason why you have to be poor or broke or miserable or depressed. There is absolutely no reason why. And the way out of this mess, the way to our higher self, the greatest version of ourself, where we're radiantly happy, the way we get there is through arete, having moral excellence. No more excuses. You have every single thing that you need within you to become the greatest version of yourself. All it takes is you putting the key into the ignition and choosing to turn it on. I can show you the key, but you have to put it into the ignition. So without any further ado, let's dive right into this system. Peace be with you all. In this section, we are going to go over the three foundational pillars of health. Now, if we look into antiquity, there is a religious document from antiquity known as the Zendavesta. And as you can see on the screen right now with the passage that you're reading, this Zendavesta goes on to say that in order for any civilization to flourish and to stay well, they must maintain an order through having quality air, food, and water. And if any of those three pillars crumble or fade away, that particular civilization surely will crumble. So, for instance, if a civilization lost clean water, clean air, or clean food, they lose their health. And what happens when you lose your health? Things go down south very quickly. Now, here in the Matrix, folks, we don't have clean air, we don't have clean food, and we sure as hell don't have clean water. The average water supply is filled full of contaminants, such as, but not limited to, hydrofluorosilicic acid, hexafluorosilicic acid, pipe residues, scaling lime, inorganic compounds, algicides, cobalts, disinfectant byproducts, lime, inorganic constituents again, chlorine, chloramines. It's insane. It really makes you wonder why they're putting those constituents in the water supply, does it not? So not only do we not have clean water, like I just said, but we don't have clean air and we don't have clean food. So if you look on the screen now, I've put together a very basic pyramid-based template, if you will, on the basics of health, which again are just like the Zendavesta said: clean food, clean water, and clean air. And this system, this course, seeks to help you get on track so that you can generate the cleanest water that you can generate, the cleanest air that you can generate, and the cleanest food that you can either grow or obtain. You do not want to be eating the system's bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse my language, but you do not want to be eating the system's bullshit, because the system provides you with all of the waste. That is why there is so much junk everywhere you go here in the Matrix, here in the underworld. I can get in my car, and within a 2 to 5 minute drive, I will be confronted with gas stations, restaurants, quickie marts, and stores and other establishments that are packed to the brim with processed synthetic garbage, filled, processed foods full of metals and additives and vegetable oils. I can drive 5 minutes down the street and go to a gas station that sells 15 to 20 different types of cigarettes and alcohol and candy and sugary nonsense. There's a reason why we are sick as a species, ladies and gentlemen. There is a reason why we are sick as a species. It's because we always have access to these garbage foods. Now, on top of that, I want to provide you with a shocking statistic that can be lifted from Dr. John W. Apsley II's book, The Genesis Effect, Spearheading Regeneration with Wild Blue-Green Algae. In that book, he goes on to show that in 1976, the United States Public Health Department said that only 1.5% of all Americans were actually healthy. Again, in 1976, the U.S. Public Health Department said that only 1.5% of all Americans were actually healthy. And that was over 20 years ago, when things were nowhere near as bad as they are now. Now, I'm not making this message and talking like this to scare people or to be a pessimist. I want to be completely honest with you, 100% real with you, so that in doing so, you can have solutions out of this mess, ladies and gentlemen, because there is so much sickness now. There is so much diabetes, cancers, heart disease, obesity, mental disorders, bipolar, autism is through the roof. Chronic sleep issues, fibromyalgia, chronic pain problems, migraines. It's just monumental. It is absolutely monumental. So in the 70s, we were ill. Here in 2021, we are beyond ill. And I don't want to see you fall into that bracket of people who are ill. I don't want to see you become a statistic. And that is one of the reasons why this course exists. This course will allow you to have a directly to the point system to follow, to eat nothing but real food. This system will teach you and inspire you to get on clean water and to stay on clean water, and not just to drink clean water. I want to see you bathing in clean water. I want to see you get a shower filter. I want to see you cooking with clean water. Hell, I want to even see you, if you can afford it, I want to see you start to water your plants if you are a gardener. I want to see you water them with clean water, and you can do that through a whole house water filter system. So we'll explain a little bit more about that in just a second, but I really want to drive that home, that it's 2021, things are going down south very quickly, and I have to say that to you because it's my job to be completely honest with you. I'm not going to get on here and sugarcoat shit. I'm going to give you the shit exactly how it is, so that in you knowing what the shit is, you can find a way around it, because there are solutions, folks. There are solutions to all of the problems. So the Matrix is a control grid that wants to keep humanity enslaved. They want to keep our consciousness in a very lulled state that resembles a deep sleep of sorts. They don't want us waking up to the truth. And the truth is that we actually, in reality, have no limitations. We've just been given limitations, and we exist in a prison system of sorts where we're fed bad food, given poisons, force-fed poisons through the high-altitude aerosol spray programs, also known as geoengineering. There's just a whole list of nonsense going on, folks. So if you want to get healthy in this world, you have to realize what's going on, and then you have to find a way to shield yourself from what's going on, because the environment is toxic, folks. And we are symbiotic creatures with our environment. If our environment is unhealthy, we get unhealthy. So we have to shield ourselves from the unnatural environment that the Matrix has laid out for us. So in the same way that a fish in a fish bowl cannot escape the consequences of the water being dirty, it will get sick and it will eventually die. You cannot avoid the wear and tear on your body from living in a toxic environment. And how is the environment toxic? Well, folks, again, we don't have pristine clean air, pristine clean water, and pristine clean food. We just don't. Most of the food on the market is synthetic, processed garbage filled full of gluten, vegetable oils, fortified with synthetic vitamins and minerals and iron. It's a mess. And most people are they're existing on this stuff. They are literally existing on this stuff. They're not living, they're existing. I want to see you thrive. I want to see you live. And in order to do that, you've got to unplug from the garbage that the system wants to force feed you. You have to simultaneously, as you unplug, shield yourself from the nonsense and rebuild yourself from the ground up. So how do we do that? In the most basic sense of the word, we address, as you see on the screen right now, this pyramidal structure. We augment and alter and change the quality of air that we breathe, the quality of food that we eat, and the quality of water that you drink. So, as you can see right there, that is a water pitcher filter. That is a Brita. If all you can afford is a Brita water filter, you should get one. Alexa Pure makes one that's much better. They're about $50 to $60, but I suggest that you use distilled water or reverse osmosis water. Reverse osmosis units can be obtained for under $300 now. They go underneath your sink, and they pull a large majority of the sediment, the chlorine, and all the other contaminants out of your water. Water distillers nowadays can be found for under $100. I prefer the $210 Mega Home water distiller. It's a countertop water distiller. It has a 1 gallon collection jar. It takes about 4.5 hours to distill 1 gallon of water. So that is not always optimal for most people, because most people use over a gallon of water a day. So if that's the case, I would highly suggest, depending on your budget, get a water pitcher filter or get a under the sink reverse osmosis unit. And if somehow, or if you can afford to spend a decent amount of money, I would suggest not only getting a reverse osmosis unit, I would suggest getting a whole house water filter as well as a shower filter. The whole house water filter is going to filter all of the water coming into your house even before it hits the sink. So if you have a whole house water filter, it will filter all the sediment and all the crap out before it gets to the sink or the reverse osmosis unit under the sink, and you'll have dual filtration, because there is so much crap in the water, you guys, it would make your head spin. And some of the constituents in the water, the contaminants like chlorine, directly assault your immune system and your gut microbiome. It dries your skin out. and it ruins your health. Chlorine exposure increases your risks of cancers drastically, especially as males. You're going to want to get this crap out of your system. This is the foundational prerequisite. You getting on clean water. You've got to do something with what you can afford. Not everybody can afford these expensive units. So, to summarize things, get a filter, even if it's a Brita water filter. At least those pull the chlorines and the chloramines and the sediments out. At the bare minimum, get one of those. If you can afford it, get a reverse osmosis unit and or a distiller. There's distillers on the market now for under $100, and many people swear by them. So water distillers are going to help you pull the most amount of junk out of your tap water. It's amazing what I've pulled out of the tap water before here in California. I will show you on the screen right now some pictures and maybe even some videos of some of the sediment that I've pulled out of the water here. Here in California, this is supposed to be some of the cleanest water in the entire state of California where I'm located, and it's not. It's garbage. So don't think that because, oh, maybe I live in an expensive area that the water's not toxic. It's toxic everywhere, folks. In fact, the water here in this expensive part of California is worse than where I live in Virginia. Where I live in Virginia, the crime rate's through the roof. You'd think that, because it's a worse area, you would think that the water would be dirtier, but no. It seems like there's an agenda to really attack these wealthy neighborhoods with garbage water, because I've gone all across California and tested water supplies in expensive areas, and the parts per million in the total dissolved solids, the amount of dissolved crap in the water in multiple places in California that are expensive, it's through the roof. There's an agenda here, folks, and if you are not filtering or distilling your water, you are being used as a test subject in a mass experiment. We are like Pottinger's cats right now. What's happening to humanity right now is a mass experiment. It is a mass experiment. And if you're eating the system's foods, if you're drinking the tap water, if you're not really taking care of your health the way that you need to, which hopefully this course will help you see how to do that. If you're not taking care of your health, you are part of the test. You are a test subject. So long story short, I'm not here to tell you exactly which unit to get to filter your water. I'm just telling you to immediately get one now, regardless of what your budget is. Find one with good reviews. That's a Brita filter. I use a Mega Home water distiller, and I use a Cousin, C-U-Z-N, shower filter on my shower. So, very basic. I just laid that out. So, the next point on this pyramid is, as you see on the screen right now, air. You need to get an air filter. We think here in this matrix that the air in our homes is actually cleaner than the air outside of our homes. It's not the truth, folks. There's been plenty of tests done where even in nice, quote-unquote, non-polluted areas, the air in the homes was totally filled full of garbage. Now, you spend 1/3 of your life indoors sleeping. Again, you spend 1/3 of your life indoors sleeping. You spend another large majority of your life indoors after you get home from work, relaxing, preparing meals, you name it. Now, on top of that, you also spend a large majority of your time at work indoors. So we spend a lot of time indoors, folks, which is highly unnatural. But the point I'm really trying to make here, folks, is that we spend a large majority of our life indoors. Over half of our lives we spend in our homes. 70% of our lives we spend indoors when you factor everything else. The time you spend at work, home, etc. But over 50% of your life is spent in your home. And if you're not filtering the air in your home, there is a good chance that you are breathing dust, chemicals, brake dusts, and a handful of other constituents that are often found in large amounts in people's homes. So there are a handful of affordable air filters on the market. There's one known as the Alexa Pure Breeze, which is a pretty outstanding unit. And what I would suggest doing is I would suggest leaving it in your living room when you're spending time in your living room. And then when you go to sleep, you bring that air filter in your bedroom and you plug it in and you let it run all night. That way, while you're sleeping, you're breathing cleaner air. When you breathe cleaner air, the air is not so filled full of contaminants and you will naturally breathe deeper. This is going to help your lungs drastically over the period of a month, let alone a week. A lot of progress can be made in a week, but a year of sleeping in filtered air. It's like, this is such a huge piece to the puzzle that so many people don't understand. The air, the breath is life, folks. It's the Spirit. It's the Holy Spirit. You do not want to be consuming garbage air, and breathing is a form of consumption. Breathing is the most important function in your body, other than your heart beating. Think about it. How long can you go without water? I know people who have gone over 5 days without water while dry fasting. How long can you go without food? Well, if you have adequate fluids, I've seen people go over 100 days without food. How long can you go without air? Not very long. The air is very important. For some weird reason, we don't put a huge emphasis on it within the health community, however. A lot of, health coaches and whatnot, they'll talk about, hey, you just get an air filter and, be done with it. No, it's much deeper than that. The assault on the air is one of the number one ways that the New World Order is attacking us, attacking our genome, attacking our genetics, our chromosomes, folks. Attacking the very atoms, molecules, cells, and tissues within our system. The air, the water, all of these constituents are going into our system. And the air, the food, and the water is either liberating and uplifting your health, or it's destroying it. And for most people, I'd say about 99% of the population in the United States and worldwide, the food, the water, and the air that they're breathing is rapidly destroying their body and putting massive amounts of stress on it. So the water that you drink, the food that you eat, and the air that you breathe, it all goes into your system. The water goes into your stomach. The food that you eat goes into your stomach. The air goes into your lungs and goes right into your blood and affects your bloodstream. The food that you eat, ladies and gentlemen, gets broken down in your stomach and then gets funneled into your small intestine, where it is delivered in through your absorptive tissues in your small intestines known as villi, and through the villi, the molecules and constituents in the food that you just ate that was pre-digested by your stomach go right into your bloodstream. So if you're eating foods that are filled full of toxic iron and synthetics, you're literally putting that stuff directly into your bloodstream like you're injecting it with a needle. So please look at the screen one more time right now and look at this pyramid. This is such a basic system. And once you get all of these pieces figured out, once you get the air filtered, once you get the food figured out, and we'll go over the foods, what to eat and what not to eat later in this video. I know some of you guys might be eager to see that, but it's got to wait a little while. We've got to cover some groundwork first. But once you get the air, the food, and the water addressed, you're good to go. Everything else will start moving in a proper direction, folks. So, again, these are the three primary prerequisites to foundational health. Without them, you cannot succeed with having health. Without them, your organism will not get out of the bracket of poor health that it's currently in. Most people are very ill. So that pretty much sums up this segment, you guys. Air, food, and water, just like the Zendavesta said. Air, food, and water. And by addressing and changing the quality of air that we breathe, the water that we drink, and the food that we eat, we stimulate arete, you guys. Caring for yourself is an act of moral excellence. Moral excellence and doing what's right in a world where it's so much easier to do what's wrong. That is how we succeed. This is how we go about, this is how we conquer the New World Order. This is how we become successful. You want to become successful, you want to become financially stable, you want to become a genius, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get attain your, or if you want to, materialize your dreams, you have got to be healthy. And in order to be healthy, you have got to do what it takes to get healthy. Before I show you the what to eat food list as well as the what not to eat food list, I just want to remind you to eat as much as you need to feel full. As long as it's coming from the what to eat food list, you're good. Now, some people might say, oh, but what about eggs? Eggs are going to give me high cholesterol, this, that, and the other. Ladies and gentlemen, we know through the research of people like Dr. Peter Glidden and Dr. Joel Wallach that eggs are incredibly healthy. We know that there's a lot that we're not being told about cholesterol. We know that there's an agenda behind cholesterol and making everybody afraid of it. In the same way that they're trying to make, animal fats seem like the devil, while at the same time they tell us to eat excessive amounts of processed carbohydrates and refined grains and gluten, it's a joke. So as long as you're avoiding the foods on the what not to eat food list, while at the same time eating the foods on the what to eat food list, you'll be all right. So just be mindful to how you eat. I wouldn't suggest sitting down and having an entire block of cheddar cheese, for instance, for dinner. I would mix some sprouts, a protein, and a carbohydrate. So sprouts and vegetables, if you make like half of your plate sprouts and really good quality homegrown vegetables, or even homegrown or even quality store-bought vegetables, you make a half of your plate raw vegetables and sprouts, and then you can put on your plate like a quarter of it a protein and a quarter of it a carbohydrate. So for instance, I'll show you on the screen right now, a big old plate of raw vegetables or cooked vegetables, a carbohydrate source, and a protein source. Very simple, very easy, and that's just an example. I don't eat the same way every day. I don't eat like that every single day. Some days I'll eat pretty much nothing but steak. Some days I'll eat 6 to 8 eggs, and some days I'll, eat those eggs with a ton of sprouts and lemon juice. What I do is I stay true to the what to eat food list, and I stay true to not eating the foods on the what not to eat food list. So the expulsion and removal of gluten, the removal of vegetable oils, the removal of high fructose corn syrup and all processed canned goods and all the heavy metal laden toxic, candy and all the crap that people eat, that's the stuff that you want to avoid. You see, here in the Matrix, things like eggs get a bad rap, but processed carbohydrates and gluten, they don't get a bad rap. They tell you that red meat is bad for you, while at the same time on their food pyramid they tell you to eat whole grains. And we know that whole grains are filled full of gluten, which is on the do not eat food list. So it's just remarkable. So many people have these diet systems where they tell you to eat you must eat this amount of carbs, you must eat that amount of fat, you must eat this amount of protein. I want you to eat intuitively. I want you to eat from the what to eat food list and in whatever quantities that you want. And as you get used to this, as you follow this system, naturally you'll begin to put the pieces together and structure recipes and your food in a very specific way. But again, there's days where I'll eat sometimes even 8 to 12 eggs, soft-boiled eggs or raw eggs. I'm not recommending necessarily that you do that. I'm just telling you what works for me and what continues to work for me. The raw eggs and the soft-boiled eggs, which is how I would suggest you make your eggs, soft-boiled, they're filled full of choline and B vitamins and iodine and beneficial selenium. Selenium has such a beneficial effect on the protection from cancer. Selenium is such an important nutrient. There's days where I'll just have, raw meat. There's days where I'll literally only drink, or there's days where I'll just fast on carrot juice or green juice or potato juice. So in my opinion, we need to get out of this poisonous idea where every day we think we have to have the same amount of food and it has to be weighed out exactly the right way and blah, blah, blah. That's not how we would live in nature, folks. It's just not. It goes against nature, actually. So I just want to, really repeat that so it gets ingrained into your mind. Just eat from the foods list, the good foods list, and avoid with every fiber of your being. Do not even touch or go near the foods on the bad food list, like the fried foods and the gluten. That's really what's going to kill you, ladies and gentlemen. The processed, refined oils. Luna's next to me, rolling around. I don't know if you can hear her. The oils and the gluten. That's really what's going to get you. And we'll go over why that's the case when we discuss the bad foods list. Gluten and vegetable oils are a staple nowadays in most Americans' diets, and that's why heart disease, cancers, diabetes, and all these issues are through the roof. Mental disorders, you'd never expect it because you think that these whole grains and these gluten products and these oils are, they're not threatening, but they actually are, and more research is beginning to prove that. The research is out there, but it's being suppressed. So the aim of this diet system is just you to eat real food in as much or however you want, whatever quantity. Use your intuition. Go off of how you feel. Listen to your body. Learn to listen to your body. After you take like 5 to 6 bites, stop for a minute, push the plate aside, and listen to your body. How do you feel? When you start to eat real food, folks, when you eat the enzyme-rich foods, the raw sprouts, the cooked vegetables, the cooked meat, all of it, the eggs, your body will reward you because you're finally putting in the raw materials that your body needs to regenerate. But this is only beneficial if you make sure that you do not eat the foods on the bad foods list. If you mix the two, that's when you're going to run into issues. You're really going to run into issues if you mix these foods. So mixing cholesterol from eggs with processed foods is not smart, because of how the processed foods will spike your blood sugar. You'll have excessive amounts of inflammation in your system, and then cholesterol will come along and go to the wrong places. I hope that makes sense. So, as long as you're eating real food, you're good. That's really what we have. That's really what we need to get back on. And that's the most common sense approach to health and diet, and not a whole lot of people are talking about it. Even in like the paleo community and all these other sub-facet kind of diets, everybody's got these little niches, and it's like, wait a second, let's just get on real food. Let's just get on real food and see what happens on a collective level. No more oils, no more crap. I mean, even these like keto people or these paleo people, they're still consuming oils. You would never find MCT oil and olive oil in nature in the Paleolithic period. That's ridiculous. So let's just get right into it, you guys. I just wanted to remind you that get away from the dogmatic approach of thinking that, okay, I must have this many calories every day and I must count this many calories, and I need this particular type of food, blah, blah, blah. Learn to intuitively eat, learn to listen to your body by eating real food. And over time, as you eat real food, your body will repair itself. You'll be putting the necessary building blocks into your system to regenerate, and through the regeneration process, your body will renew itself, and your mind, which is connected to your body, will renew itself as well. And you'll be able to see through the illusions, and you'll be able to see how simple life is supposed to be. Nutrition is not supposed to be difficult. I love you all, and let's get right into the bad foods list. The first food on the what not to eat food list is gluten, and I put it as number 1 for a very specific reason, and that's because I believe gluten is one of the number 1 assaults on human health worldwide, and people eat a massive amount of gluten. So gluten is a family of proteins found in gluten-containing starches and grains, such as but not limited to wheat, barley, and rye. And this family of protein is composed of 2 main proteins, and these 2 main proteins are known as gliadin and glutenin. These two proteins are exceptionally difficult to be broken apart in the stomach before they are ferried into the small intestine for absorption. So what ends up happening, folks, is that your stomach acid cannot break apart the proteins effectively in gluten. Now, this is a bad thing because your stomach is supposed to pre-digest food and make it into smaller pieces, more manageable units for your small intestine for absorption. So you eat food, it goes down your esophagus, your stomach breaks it apart. By the time it gets into the small intestine, it's supposed to be broken down exponentially so that it can be easily filtered into your absorptive tissues that line your small intestine. These are known as villi and microvilli. Your small intestine is composed of multiple finger-like protrusions that absorb nutrients from the food that you eat after your stomach digests it. What ends up happening, folks, is that the gluten proteins are not effectively broken down in the stomach, and they enter into the small intestine undigested or non-predigested. They enter into the small intestine almost whole or fully intact and completely undigested. What ends up happening is that the villi cannot absorb these whole proteins, and the proteins funnel or are ferried through your small intestine and destroy your microvilli, as well as your villi, your entire colony of absorptive tissues. This, over time, destroys your body's ability to absorb nutrients because gluten completely destroys your nutrient absorptive sponges. These are your villi, your microvilli, and whole proteins found in gluten that cannot be absorbed and broken down by the stomach enter into the small intestine, where they tumble through your small intestine and destroy your colonies of absorptive tissues. This is why we have got to get away from gluten entirely. Not just for the week, not just for the weekend. No, I'm just going to do it for a week and then we'll see what happens. You have got to get off of this stuff for a minimum of 6 months before you start to see results, concrete results. Now, what's interesting is that many of the clients that I work with, myself included, I've seen results in them and myself in as little as 2 days. So get off the gluten. There is a list of gluten-containing grains and starches in the accompanying PDF that came with this course. Read it and make it gospel so that you don't accidentally eat gluten, because small amounts of this toxic family of proteins will ruin your digestive system. I know so many people whose ADHD symptoms got better when they got rid of gluten. Their focus got better, their endurance, their determination, their well-being, their confidence, so many things. It's not just related to the body. There are so many mental and cognitive benefits that come from getting rid of gluten. It is number one on this list for a reason. It's because we need to get this shit out of our systems, folks. There is way too much gluten being eaten on a regular basis. In fact, most Americans consume over 130 pounds of wheat every year, and wheat is just one of multiple gluten-containing grains that people eat regularly. Get off the gluten. Fried food, number 2 on our what not to eat food list. Fried foods are exceptionally high in calories and trans fats. Fried food, in my opinion, is one of the leading causes of early death, cancers, tumors, the production of sickness, etc. Fried food does not belong in the human body. Now, what do people use when they fry their food? Well, they use vegetable oil, which is a completely unnecessary additive and constituent to be using when cooking. Vegetable oil does not belong in the human body, and that's why it is not allowed on this diet, the Life Force Diet Mastery System. You have to avoid vegetable oils like the plague because they will kill you. There's a lot of marketing around vegetable oils, and we'll talk about that in the vegetable oil section. But again, you guys, fried foods directly increase your risk of disease. This is a well-known fact. And in fact, if you look at the states in the United States where fried food is consumed the most, in the South, they have the shortest life expectancy out of any other locations in the United States. And what do? Again, they eat a ton of fried food. This directly increases the risk of becoming obese because there's so many unnecessary calories in fried food, and those fats that you're frying the food in, it's more often than not soybean oil, canola oil, peanut oil, all of the unnecessary vegetable oils, which are more often than not incredibly high in polyunsaturated fats, which are bad for the heart. but they're filled with the wrong fat. We want animal fat. We want butter. We want tallow. We want lard. These are the most bioavailable to the human body, and they're also the closest in terms of their molecular integrity to our bodies. Animal fats are much closer in resemblance to the fats that we harbor on our physical bodies. We're not designed to be eating all these vegetable fats, you guys, these seed oils, etc. So when foods are fried, it contains harmful and toxic acrylamides, which are a byproduct of foods that are cooked at high temperature. Acrylamides are incredibly bad for your longevity. They assault your health, your heart, and they ruin the quality of your skin. If you have bad skin, ask yourself, do you consume fried food? And I'm not just talking about deep fried food. I'm talking about even if you went to Whole Foods and bought some grass-fed beef and you took it home and put it in some expensive olive oil and fried it, you are still producing the acrylamides. Those oils are oxidized and rancid, and they produce harmful byproducts when you heat them. We do not use oil on this system. We do not eat fried foods. We avoid them like the plague because these are two of the vegetable oils in the fried foods are two of the biggest detriments to human health that have ever materialized in the matrix. If we avoid these foods and we eat the right foods, we will develop into much healthier creatures, in my opinion. Let's do what's right and let's snap out of this trance. Get away from the fried foods, which are more often than not incredibly high in trans fats, the wrong fats. And there's just way too many toxic byproducts that come from frying food. So we have the acrylamides that are a byproduct of heating food at high temperatures. We also have the aldehydes, these toxic constituents that are formed through frying oil at a high heat. You also inject directly into your food excessive amounts of calories because oil is incredibly high in calories. And the oil that people use to fry foods are the wrong oils: soybean, cottonseed, canola, the stuff that you want to avoid like the plague. So fried food, avoid it, you guys. Check out the PDF that came with this course. There's lists of all of the ins and outs of which are, fried foods, including, if you look at the PDF, there's much more information than just on these little clips. I can actually, in bullet points, list all of the foods to eat and not to eat. Vegetable oils, another one of our toxic foods that needs to be avoided like the plague. During the extensive processing of vegetable oils, they are damaged. By the time they get into your stomach, they're oxidized and rancid. And that's if they're raw, out of the bottle. For instance, if you made a salad dressing. But many people aren't just consuming vegetable oils raw like that. They're cooking with them. They're frying foods with them. And during this, when you cook at high heat, you produce oxidation even further. So you already have an oxidized, rancidified product, and when you cook with it, you oxidize it even further. These vegetable oils contain massive amounts of toxic free radicals, folks, and they completely congest the gallbladder and the liver, and they get stuck in your tissues. The fat that you eat is the fat that you wear, and most people wear a lot of vegetable oils. The consumption of vegetable oils contributes to massive amount of inflammation, largely due to the amount of oxidative stress that these foods put on our system. They throw out your omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, and they release toxic chemicals known as aldehydes. Aldehydes are directly linked to neurodegenerative diseases, cancer, etc. There is so much research on why vegetable oils are toxic, and the consumption of vegetable oils has skyrocketed in the last 50 years. There is more vegetable oil consumption now than there ever has been. And the idea that a vegetable oil came from a vegetable is ridiculous, folks. These are nut and seed oils. These go rancid almost immediately upon coming into contact with oxygen, and they rancidify and they begin to oxidize upon coming into contact with oxygen. And most of these oils, they are exposed to oxygen for prolonged periods and light during the manufacturing process, and they use hexanes and solvents to produce these oils. It's a very strange thing to look at and to watch. I've seen how vegetable oils are made. They use these giant machines and they take these just massive amounts of seeds that look dirty and they squeeze all of the oils out of them, these nuts and these seeds. So if you want to follow this system properly, you have got to get off all of the vegetable oils, and you replace the vegetable oils with butter, beef tallow, and lard. But you have to be careful with lard as well as tallow, because some of them come from bad sources. You really don't want to skimp on quality when it comes to your your butter and your tallow, what you're going to be cooking with. I primarily just use grass-fed butter. I use the Kerrygold butter. But just make sure to get good quality fats to not only eat, but to cook with. On this system, you don't get to use olive oil. You don't get to use any of that crap. Olive oil, you guys, it's all marketing. Coconut oil, it's all marketing. And, the Mediterranean diet is what made olive oil really popular. But there's a lot of information you're not told about the Mediterranean diet. For instance, the longest lived people in the Mediterranean were the Sardinians. And what did the Sardinians do that was different than pretty much everywhere or everyone else in the Mediterranean? Well, they hated olive oil. They persisted largely on root vegetables and lamb, and they foraged their own food. They got a lot of exercise as well, but they did not eat olive oil, folks. In fact, the Sardinians, if my memory serves me properly, they're the ones that started calling many of the, civilizations, if you will, or the pretty much anyone other than them, they called them greasers because everyone else ate oil. The Sardinians did not like oil. So this system, we don't like oil either. And if you like oil now, it's probably because you've been consuming them for so long. Once you get off the oils, you're going to feel a lot better. You're going to look a lot better. Your skin's going to start to glow. And when you put the right animal fats into your system that are closer to your body's own fats, your skin is going to become more elastic. You're going to glow. You're going to feel better. And once you start feeling better, you'll see, okay, I just needed an oil change. Once you get the toxic vegetable oils out of your system for long enough, you're going to feel much better. And once you start to feel much better, you'll realize why they were toxic. Processed meat. Most people refer to this as deli meat, but deli meat is kind of an incorrect term because there are some deli meats that don't contain all the crap in them that makes processed meat unhealthy. So you can go to a good deli and get high quality meat that isn't filled full of antibiotics and hormones and all of the excessive amounts of sodium and all of the crap like the coloring. So processed meats, more often than not, if you look at the label, it's not just meat, folks. They add massive amounts of sodium. There's nitrates and nitrites, and many of these deli meats or processed meats have coloring agents, and the coloring agents assault your liver. They assault your gallbladder. They assault your blood. So, yeah, on top of that, cold cuts, processed meats, even canned meats, there's just not enough of the real thing in them to consider them a food. And something that isn't a food is something that we don't eat on this system, because this system is all about eating the correct foods that nature intended for us to eat. So instead of eating deli meats, processed meats, meat in a can that has way too much sodium or vegetable oils in it, you just load up and buy real meat in bulk. You freeze it, you keep it on hand. It may take a little bit of getting used to, but these excessive amounts of preservatives even in the coloring and the sodium and the seasonings in the processed meats, the deli meats, it's not worth the risk, and it has to be avoided at all costs. Now, I'm a fan of sodium. I eat a lot of salt, and salt is one of the good foods that you need to eat regularly on this system. But the amount of sodium in these processed meats is so concentrated, and it's mixed with so many other harmful constituents that sodium is now out the window when it comes to having any health benefits. So long story short, processed meats, they're packaged more often than not in bad, unhealthy plastics or metal. things that contain bisphenol A and estrogen mimickers, things that mess with your hormones. Processed meats, more often than not, contain non-beneficial additives such as synthetic colorings, spices, and even vegetable oils, you guys. So stay away from the processed meats and only eat the real thing. Processed food, refined carbohydrates, and GMO. Now, if you look at the PDF that came with this course, there is an extensive list of processed foods, refined carbohydrates, and genetically modified organisms. I would really like you to check that PDF out while we talk, because that's where you're going to have the majority of the foods presented to you that you need to stay away from. I don't want to make each of these little sections long on the foods to avoid list, because I want to get through it so that we can get on to bigger and better things, such as the what to eat food list. So please check out the PDF that came with this course and read through all of the processed foods, GMOs, and refined carbohydrates. Refined carbohydrates, a perfect example of those is cereal. Cereal that comes in a box. We need to avoid that at all costs. More often than not, cereal is fortified with synthetic vitamins and has a large amount of toxic synthetic iron added to the cereal. I don't know why the Matrix and the system overlords are spiking cereal with so much iron, but they are. And excessive iron causes a whole host of issues, ladies and gentlemen, a whole host of issues. So cereals, things that have all of the gluten in them, more often than not, are processed foods. And what is a processed or refined food? It's a food that goes through extensive amount of processing or refinement. It's when a factory takes foods, mixes them together, adds synthetics to them or chemicals and preservatives, and then they repackage it. So cereal is a perfect example of a refined carbohydrate / processed foods. Now, what's really scary is that if you go to the typical supermarket nowadays, 90% of the food in the supermarket is processed. 90% of the food in the supermarket is refined. And a large majority of the foods in the supermarket are genetically engineered. They've had their genetics manipulated by a laboratory. And the dangers of this is that a genetically engineered or modified organism is not something natural. It goes against natural order, natural law, which makes it incompatible to our bodies. And as we know, when we pollute our bodies, the mind suffers as well. This is why they want us eating so much of this garbage bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse my language. They want to manipulate our genome through bad food, through toxic additives and synthetics, fortified, refined foods, genetically engineered garbage, and processed foods. So we've got to stop eating out of boxes. And instead of eating out of boxes, let's start making our own foods. Let's stop eating out of bags. Let's stop buying things like trail mix, which nowadays has vegetable oils and excessive amounts of sugar and refined crap in it. Let's make our own trail mix. It's a lot easier than it sounds, folks. So stay away from the processed, refined garbage, the genetically engineered crap, and eat real food. Overcooked meat. Now, I happen to think that overcooked meat tastes delicious, but I do not eat it because of how poorly it digests. It's very difficult for the body to digest overcooked meat. In fact, the easiest to digest form of meat is raw or rare meat. Now, I'm not suggesting that you eat raw meat. I do it myself, but that's not all I eat. I also eat cooked meat, but it's always rare or medium rare, preferably rare. So when we cook meat, we make it much more difficult to digest because of how we rearrange its molecular integrity. We are designed to eat real foods that haven't been cooked to death. Now, another very detrimental thing of eating overcooked meat, especially overcooked red meat, is the byproducts that are produced from exposure to high temperatures. These chemicals are known as heterocyclic amines, or HCAs. Now, there's also a group of byproducts known as PHAs, which are polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Now, these are produced from the charring process. When you cook meat at high temperatures, it produces these heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. This is a surefire way to get cancer, folks. There is plenty of research to prove how deadly and toxic these polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons are and these HCAs, these heterocyclic amines. So we also lose a lot of the most beneficial nutrients in the meat when we cook it for prolonged periods at a high temperature. And the goal of this diet is to increase the amount of life force saturation in your system, not to hinder your life force. So there's some things that we have to let go of that we may love if we want to get healthy. And a lot of people have a huge issue letting go of charred, especially charred red meat and charred chicken. But I can assure you, once you get used to eating a life force diet, once you get used to undercooking your meat a little bit, you're going to enjoy it much more because you're going to feel much better. When you put the properly cooked meat in your system, it's going to digest better, you're going to absorb more nutrients, you're going to feel better, you're going to look better, and you're going to never look back. Once you get used to a new way of living, everything's easy at that point. So do not eat overcooked meat. Table sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, all of this nonsense. They're putting this stuff in everything nowadays, folks. It's amazing. We use honey as a sweetener on the Life Force Diet Mastery system. We use blackstrap molasses and we use maple syrup, but we use honey as our first and foremost, most important sweetener. In fact, I would like to see everybody, if possible, only use honey as a sweetener if you are going to sweeten things. Now, I don't personally sweeten things other than an occasional cup of cream or some coffee, and if that's the case, I'll use honey. But more often than not, I'm not sweetening things, because when you learn to sweeten things excessively, you get addicted to it, and that's a horrible addiction, to just be adding sugar to everything. And even though we use honey and blackstrap molasses and maple syrup as sweeteners on this diet system, you don't want to eat a ton of them because sugar is sugar. Now, fortunately for us, the honey is sugar with enzymes and antioxidants, so technically sugar is not sugar. But what I mean by sugar is that regardless of whether it's honey or white sugar, it will still elevate your blood sugar. And we don't want to have chronic elevated blood sugar. White sugar, table sugar, and all of these other sweetened goods directly are linked to hypertension, high blood pressure, diabetes, fatty liver disease, weight gain, and increased risk for strokes and heart attacks. We need to get rid of this nonsense immediately. Microwaved foods. I sure do hope that you do not own a microwave, and if you do, I would highly suggest getting rid of it. Because the convenience that comes from being able to nuke your food at a rapid pace does not replace the amount of damage that it's doing to your health. Microwaves and microwave food directly expose us to unnaturally large amounts of radiation, and we already have enough radiation in our lives from all the wireless systems, cell phones, and electronics and electromagnetic fields that we're exposed to on a regular basis. Microwaved foods destroy entirely the nutritional integrity of your food by way of destroying the molecular integrity of your food. These are incredibly unsafe. Just having a microwave plugged in your home, in my opinion, is dangerous. They emit electromagnetic fields. They also directly contribute to the formation of carcinogenic compounds in specific foods that you're microwaving. On top of that, many people are microwaving their food in plastics that have hormone mimickers or disruptors in them, plastics that contain bisphenol A, also known as BPA. This directly assaults your hormones, and when you heat it, you off-gas those plastics, and the BPA multiplies and triples. So, again, you guys, there's plenty of research as to why microwaves are dangerous. If you think that in, superheating your food in a very short amount of time with invisible rays is beneficial, then I really do hope that you can do some soul searching, because these are not beneficial. They're incredibly toxic. Getting rid of your microwave is one of the greatest things that you can do for your health, alongside getting rid of your television and all of the foods on the what not to eat food list. Now, on the what to eat list, in the upper left-hand corner, we have sprouts. So that is things like sprouted alfalfa, sprouted fenugreek, sprouted chia seeds, sprouted sunflower, which is one of my favorites. It is so high in protein. Sprouts are seeds that you soak and then you germinate and you allow them to grow. And the beautiful thing about sprouts, ladies and gentlemen, is that they are full of enzymes. Sprouts are what's known as a living food. And because of that, it's one of the most important pieces of this diet system, sprouts. Now, you may be wondering, well, what is a living food? Is that a raw food? There's a difference between living foods and raw foods, and I'm going to explain it. Raw foods are, for instance, if you went to the store and bought a bag of carrots. The carrots are raw. They have not been cooked, but they've been taken out of the soil. A raw food sits for a amount of time before it goes into your system. For instance, if you were to go to the store and buy a bag of cucumbers, those cucumbers are raw, but they are not technically living because they are not still connected to the vine that they came from. So a living food is something that's still in the growth process. It's still alive and growing when you consume it. So that is the key to sprouts, and that is why they are such an important part of this diet system. They are living foods. A sprout is still growing when you eat it. Its enzymes are multiplying. It is filled full of life force. In fact, sprouts are one of the highest life force foods that we have access to. On top of that, they're incredibly cheap and they have a remarkably long shelf life. Now, I don't mean that they have a long shelf life while the sprout is actually like germinated and growing. I mean, the seeds do. You can store the seeds for years. So I consume a ton of alfalfa. I consume a ton of mung bean sprouts. I consume a large amount of broccoli sprouts, which are high in a very important nutrient known as sulforaphane. Sprouts are incredibly high in enzymes and protein, and if you look at a sprout with something known as Kirlian photography, which basically captures the energetic potential of a particular organism or item, sprouts push off a ton of energy in Kirlian photography. So I'd really love, if you guys wouldn't mind, pause the screen right now or pause the course and go onto a search engine and type in Kirlian photography sprouts. I'll put a link, or I'll put a slide on the screen right now so that you can see what or how Kirlian is spelled. That way you can really gauge just how amazing sprouts are. They put off a ton of energy. So sprouts, you guys, eat as much of them as you want. I like to mix them with my food when I make like rice and beans and potatoes or gluten-free grains. If I have some meat or some eggs, even some vegetables, I will consume them. I try to eat sprouts with almost everything that I consume. So sprouts are an integral part of this diet system. This section was a little on the longer side, but it's important that we talk about why sprouts are so beneficial and why they're so much different than raw foods like vegetables that haven't been cooked or even fruit. Sprouts are growing while you consume them. And because of that, their enzymatic potential and their life force is through the roof. Second on our list are nuts and seeds. This includes cashews, almonds, walnuts, Brazil nuts, acorns, peanuts, hazelnuts, chestnuts, and pine nuts. Now, I would suggest never consuming store-bought nut butters and spreads. In fact, that's an absolute no-no on this particular diet system. These are often mixed with unnecessary additives such as vegetable oils and sugar. As an alternative, you guys, you can purchase nuts and make your own homemade nut butters and spreads without the unhealthy additives. Trail mix and canned and bagged seasoned nuts need to be avoided as well. They just put way too many additives in these foods, you guys. It's insane. They'll take nuts, they'll take something like almonds and mix it with a ton of sodium and a bunch of additives and just things that really destroy your health. And more often than not now, you'll see trail mixes that have vegetable oils and just all this nonsense in these foods. So if you're going to eat nuts and seeds, buy them in bulk. That's how I would suggest doing it. And buy them raw. Do not buy them with seasoning on them ever, because the seasonings are more often than not filled full of the stuff that we want to avoid on this diet, and those things are going to destroy your health. All right, so next up on the list, we have high ORAC foods and spices. Now, before we continue, I just want to say that ORAC stands for oxygen radical absorbance capacity. It is a measurement system that quantifies the free radical fighting power of an antioxidant. High ORAC foods exert a potent effect on our bodies due to their ability to counteract oxidative damage. So these are some of the most important foods to consume to recover from years of damage of eating a standard American diet. Standard American diets put massive amounts of oxidative stress on our bodies and destroy our health. We have an overabundance of free radicals in our systems, and that's why high ORAC foods are so absolutely important. And that's why they are on that's why they are on the foods to eat list for this health system. These foods are going to provide you a massive amount of antioxidant saturation. So we have foods like real chocolate, wolfberry. Wolfberry is just a fancy term for the goji berry. Schizandra, acai, turmeric, cloves, cinnamon, oregano, prunes, basil, blueberries, raspberries, pomegranate, parsley, peppermint, rosemary, Indian gooseberry, camu, chili powder, lemon, ginger, tarragon, bacopa, thyme, curry, marjoram, chaga, black pepper, elderberry, and sage. Now, what I just listed, folks, are some of the easiest to obtain high ORAC foods. There are various other high ORAC foods. However, many of them are just absolutely unpalatable. So I'm going to put some slides on the screen right now to kind of explain the oxidative stress that I just mentioned and the oxidative damage that we're under, and how antioxidants and high ORAC foods help us counteract the damage of these particular processes, these baneful processes that go on within our body. So the standard American diet puts massive amounts of oxidative stress on our bodies. We experience a lot of free radical saturation and oxidative damage. Eating foods that are high ORAC, which again, you guys, ORAC stands for oxygen radical absorbance capacity. Eating these foods will help you recover from the damage done from years of oxidative damage and stress and free radical saturation from the standard American diet. And a lot of the damage is done directly from the vegetable oils. So, daily consumption of high ORAC food is an essential pillar of this diet, of this course that you're taking. A simple way to start is by drinking lemon water and seasoning your food with high ORAC spices. So a perfect example of how these potent high ORAC antioxidant foods work is, have you ever taken an apple and cut it in half and then put lemon juice on one half of the apple and then left the other half of the apple without lemon juice? You'll notice that the apple without the lemon juice starts to brown really quickly, whereas the lemon Whereas the apple that you put lemon on, it doesn't brown anywhere near as quick. This is because of the antioxidant capacity of lemon. Lemon is a potent antioxidant, and that's why I drink it regularly, as many of you guys already know. So just to keep things simple, again, I just want to say that one of the easiest ways to get more ORAC-rich foods into your system is to eat high ORAC spices. And these include turmeric, curry, cinnamon, rosemary, black pepper, thyme, ginger, sage, oregano, parsley, chili powder, tarragon, and basil. And this is all in the course materials in the PDF, and you can print that out as a reference. Now, black pepper is one of my favorite foods, and I just wanted to throw in just a little interesting factoid about black pepper. Not only does it have a very high ORAC value, it also is a potent source of the trace metal vanadium, which is very good for keeping blood sugar stable. Honey and bee products. That's the next food on our what to eat list. Honey is one of my favorite foods. It is so energetic. It is also so calming. It has a double directional effect, I've noticed. And what I mean by that is when you consume honey and you need energy, it gives you energy. When you consume honey and you need to calm down, it helps calm you down. So not only is honey a great way to start your day for energy, it's also a great way to end your day. It helps you go to sleep. It helps you stay asleep. It lowers stress. Honey is full of beneficial enzymes. Honey is full of beneficial natural sugars. Sugars the way nature intended for them to be. So honey and bee products, which ones should you be consuming on this diet system? Royal jelly, honeycomb, honey, bee pollen, and propolis. Bee pollen is a great thing to consume every day as a supplement, but more often than not, what I end up doing is I just consume honey. And you want to try to find local honey from a local beekeeper if you can. And you really need to be careful when you're shopping for honey, you guys, because there's a lot of fake honey on the market, and some very big, well-respected companies have been caught in the past buying and importing honey that was cut with high fructose corn syrup. And that's why I suggest that you buy your honey from a local beekeeper. That way you know it's the real deal. And it's healthier for your body to eat honey that comes from your local area than it is to buy, for instance, honey that came all the way from like New Zealand when you live in the United States. So again, royal jelly, honeycomb, honey, bee pollen, and propolis. Royal jelly and bee pollen are some of the most nutrient-dense foods in the world. They can, however, be quite expensive. So a general rule of thumb is 1 to 2 tablespoons of actual just plain honey a day. And if you want to take bee pollen and propolis and royal jelly alongside that, go for it. It's not going to hurt. But again, 1 to 2, sometimes 3, depending on how active you are, tablespoons of raw, real, unfiltered honey a day, preferably from a local source. And I would suggest consuming it in the morning and then prior to bed. That way you're going to give your brain some energy with the natural sugars in the honey when you wake up, and then you're going to calm yourself down and lower stress prior to bed with those natural stress-destroying sugars that are in honey and are ever so abundant. Next up on the list, we have fresh pressed juice, coffee, and tea. For instance, orange juice, pomegranate, blueberry, grape, potato juice, which is one of my favorites, by the way, red potato juice, apple juice, carrot, green juice, cucumber, coffee, tea, and whole fat cow and goat milk is also allowed on this system, preferably goat milk. And we'll talk about that more in the dairy section. But fruits and vegetable juices are allowed as long as they are always fresh pressed and juiced. Never purchase store-bought fruit and vegetable juices, as they are pasteurized and nutritionally inferior to what you can make yourself. You deserve the best, so please do not trade your health for the convenience and ease of store-bought, processed, prepackaged, and bottled juices. Carrot juice is one of the least expensive to start making. Large bags of organic carrots are under usually $6. Just make sure to not overdo the juices, especially fruit juice. Too much of a good thing can be a bad thing. Now, when it comes to tea, I would suggest, and these are just a few of my favorites, in no way, shape, or form do you just have to consume only these teas, but Schizandra, Gynostemma, chaga, relaxation teas, yerba mate, wolfberry, which is again goji berry, reishi, and hibiscus. So a general rule of thumb here, you guys, is make sure to get a juicer. You're really going to want to start experimenting with the juices, with making your own green juice and your carrot juices and orange juice. Now, I try to keep my carbohydrates under 60 grams a day typically, and I do great on that system. And I would suggest people keep their carbohydrates on the lower end. I'm not talking about going ketogenic, but keeping your carbohydrates down and keeping your sugar down can be a very beneficial thing, you guys. So, every day I consume at least one type of juice or some type of very healthy potion, whether it be lemon water with fulvic acid or, carrot juice. Just make sure to get one 8 to 12 ounce glass of juice a day into your system. You can do more, but if you're going to do a lot of them, I would suggest doing things like cucumber, ginger, and lemon, things like that to keep your sugars down. Now, when it comes to water and the consumption of water, many people have different opinions on that. If you look into people like Augenis Vonderplanitz, he's not a huge fan of water. If you look into people like Fedorun Batmangelij, who wrote Your Body's Many Cries for Water, the book, he is a huge fan of water. There's mixed opinions amongst multiple different people about water. What I like to preach and recommend to people is to experiment. Work on yourself. Keep a journal and see how you feel when you drink 1 to 2 glasses of water at once. See how you feel when you don't drink as much water. Me personally, I don't drink as much water as I used to. I drink 3 to sometimes 5 glasses a day, sometimes more, sometimes less. I don't like to give people a set amount of water to consume because, like I've said earlier throughout this video, everybody's different and what works for me may or may not work for you. I know people who thrive off less water and I know people who thrive on more water. It's all about listening to yourself and going from there, ladies and gentlemen. I will, however, say that the body is a hydration machine and that it absolutely, in my opinion, needs liquid. The key is to put the right liquids into your system. So clean, spiritually restructured distilled water or filtered water, and go from there. But again, there's so much debate as to how much water the body needs. I do know that the body uses water to conduct messages throughout your entire cellular structure. So obviously water is crucial, but it's up to you to find the sweet spot for yourself. And it also depends on how much you're sweating. How much fluid are you losing throughout the day? Because obviously if you're losing a lot of fluid, you need to increase your intake of water. Butter, ghee, dairy, tallow, and lard. So tallow and butter are the 2 preferred cooking fats on the Life Force Diet Mastery system. Lard is okay, but more often than not, it's harder to find quality lard than it is quality tallow. You can buy tallow in bulk for relatively cheap from grass-fed animals. So tallow and butter, you need to stock up on those and only cook in those 2 fats because they are not going to oxidize like vegetable oils. They are not going to go rancid like the vegetable oils do. And the fats in these animal products are much more bioavailable and assimilable to your animal body than vegetables. You got to think, we are an animal. The fats that we carry on our body are very similar to the animals of the field. Animal fats are much more digestible and assimilable on a bioenergetic level than vegetable fats from seeds, vegetable oils, you name it. And that's why vegetable oils are not to be ever consumed on this system. So I cook with butter, I cook with tallow, and occasionally I'll cook with lard. And I'll also, you guys, from time to time, I'll wake up and I'll put butter in my coffee for my brain, and I'll put some tallow in my coffee for my brain as well. And I'll also clean my skin regularly, especially my face, and I will put butter on my face as well as tallow. These are excellent moisturizers. If you want your skin to look youthful, you get off of the foods on the what to not to eat food list. You start eating the right foods on the what to eat list, and you start to hydrate yourself, get your ORAC level up, and start to put butter on your face after you clean it, you guys. And I've put a skin cleaning solution recipe in the PDF that came with this if you're interested in learning which particular skin cleaning protocol that I use before I apply the butter to my face. So ghee, which is a clarified butter, is also incredibly healthy. It's delicious on rice. It's delicious on potatoes. But I only recommend at this point, folks, using the butter by itself, grass-fed butter, and the tallow. Butter tastes delicious. The fats are very bioavailable. It's filled full of fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, you name it. On this diet system, you get to eat meat, whatever type of meat that you want. But it has to not be processed. It has to be high quality, and I'm talking about the highest quality meat that you can source. It must contain zero hormones, antibiotics, and vaccines, and it must come from a source where the animal was not abused. The living conditions in conventional factory farms for animals is deplorable. It is a demonic thing. So we have to make sure that we are putting only high-quality meat from well-respected animals into our system. So chicken, pork, beef, fish, duck, whatever you enjoy, but just try not to overdo it. If you're just getting into this system and you need a large amount of meat, if you feel that you do, then feel free to eat a large amount of meat. But as you work through this system, and I really want to put an emphasis on this, make sure to be eating from all of the food groups. Try to make it balanced. So all of the foods on the what to eat food list, that's crucial. You want to get the sprouts into your system, folks. You want to get the raw fruit. You want to get the vegetables, and you want to get the rice and the potatoes and the high ORAC foods into your system. You just don't want to pick and choose certain foods on the chart and only eat those regularly. So you might run into some serious issues, for instance, if all you did was eat from, just eat blocks of cheese all day. But if you incorporate all of the food groups and you ensure that you stay adequately hydrated, you're going to be fine. So duck, chicken, pig, beef, these are fine, but they have to come from the right sources, and you need to make sure not to overcook them, because when we overcook meat, we produce heterocyclic amines and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Cooked meat will quickly create problems in your body and is one of the leading causes of sudden death and heart attacks in the United States, because people love their meat overcooked here. So, yes, there's nothing wrong with eating some meat. Animal protein and animal fat from meat is incredibly beneficial to the body and to the brain and to development of the immune system, you name it, but it has to come from the right source. So I consume animal products daily. Sometimes it's meat, sometimes it's eggs, sometimes it's cheese. I consume animal products daily, however, and I mix it with lots of raw sprouts and vegetables and homegrown foods, and I drink a lot of red potato juice. My diet is very clean, and I want yours to be as well. So eat well, invest in your health. Don't eat factory farmed animals. Don't eat conventionally raised eggs. You want it to be grass-fed beef. You want it to be pastured eggs. Preferably, you'll find someone in your neighborhood that maybe has a ranch or a farm where you can go meet the rancher or the farmer and get to know where the animals come from and the eggs come from as well. Gluten-free grains and starches. Quinoa, rice, sorghum, corn, as long as it's GMO-free. Arrowroot, millet, potato, amaranth, teff, soy, and tapioca. Again, quinoa, rice, sorghum, corn, arrowroot, millet, potato, amaranth, teff, soy, and tapioca. And although I do not suggest that you eat soy, I have left this on the list because it is a gluten-free protein source for people who are not willing to consume animal products. I would highly suggest, however, that you don't consume soy. But if you are a vegan, and if you're unwilling to eat the animal products on the what to eat food list, then soy is going to be one of your only, I wouldn't say your only protein source as a vegan, but it's one of the only protein sources that kind of resembles a meaty texture. So, again, you guys, quinoa, rice, sorghum, corn, arrowroot, millet, potato, amaranth, teff, soy, and tapioca. So, although the rice is on the gluten-free grains and starches, I've put it as its own food group, rice, on the what to eat food list because of how important this particular food is. Rice is a staple of mine. It's cheap, and it is an excellent carbohydrate source. It's a great energy source. Quinoa, which is a gluten-free grain, is an excellent protein source. It's got a very well-rounded amino acid profile. So, as long as you guys aren't eating the bulk of your calories from gluten-free grains and starches, you're going to be all right. If you're going to eat gluten-free grains and starches, and I typically eat them either every day to every other day, just make sure to eat your protein with it, and make sure to eat your raw vegetables with it as well. Your sprouts, your raw cabbage, your cooked cabbage. We'll get more into how to structure a plate to incorporate everything in the next segment. Salt. Salt is an essential piece to human health and well-being, regardless of what people are going to tell you out here in the Matrix. Most people are misguided and don't understand the bigger picture. They don't have a bird's eye view of what's going on here. Salt is an essential mineral supplement, folks, that is needed for the production of stomach acid, and it provides, again, essential minerals to the body. Salt becomes dangerous when it's packaged with processed foods and they add excessive amounts of sodium to that processed food. And even then, the sodium, more often than not, is not the most dangerous component in the processed foods. It's the vegetable oils and the gluten and the artificial colors and the dyes, all the stuff that they add to these processed foods. Salt has gotten a bad rap, and they want us on a salt-restricted diet so that we have weak stomach acid. And because of that, when our stomach acid becomes weak, we are unable to digest foods properly. We need to have strong stomach acid. When your stomach acid is healthy and the way that God intended it to be, you should be able to digest entire bones. Stomach acid is incredibly acidic. When we go on a salt-restricted diet, we weaken our stomach acid, folks. Salt is also incredibly important for nerve impulses and the proper storage of fluids in your body. So I prefer Celtic sea salt and pink Himalayan salt. There are others on the market, things like green tea salt, but I would highly suggest just get on the Celtic sea salt. It's the best. Vegetables, one of my favorites. I eat a lot of vegetables, folks. I love bok choy. I love asparagus, broccoli. I love radishes. I love it all for the most part. Onions, you name it. So what's funny about vegetables too is years ago I ran into some digestive issues after going on a specific antibiotic. It really just destroyed my ability to digest food. And I was honestly terrified because I was going to the bathroom once every 3 days. I had no movement. And regardless of what I ate, nothing really helped until I intuitively began to eat large amounts of bok choy. Bok choy fixed my digestive issues in one day, eating 2 to 3 cups of bok choy. So bok choy is a superfood. It's something that I would suggest you eat a lot of. Baby bok choy, preferably. Baby bok choy just seems to be more nutritionally complete. A lot of the bigger bok choy that you can buy, it just doesn't have the flavor. More often than not, the green on the leaves isn't as vibrant. So baby bok choy, but if all you can get is the regular bok choy, eat that as well. It is a delicious food with a handful of benefits to the digestive system. I know this firsthand. And I've put clients of mine on bok choy heavy diets when they have digestive issues. And more often than not, they experience very similar effects when they eat more bok choy. But pretty much you guys eat as much vegetables as you want. So in the next segment, after I finish explaining all of the foods on the what to eat food list, I'm going to explain to you something known as the 50-25-25. It's a way of structuring a plate. I would highly suggest experimenting with that. and make half of your plate, and I'm going to explain this again in the next segment once we're done with all these foods, make half your plate vegetables, 25% of your plate protein, 25% of your plate a carbohydrate source. This is a way to get complete nutrition. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but again, eat as much vegetables as you want, you guys. I mean, if you get a craving for potato chips, go eat carrots. If you get a craving for anything processed, go raid the refrigerator and eat as many vegetables as you want until you feel satiated. Eggs, nature's natural, perfect multivitamin and multimineral. Eggs are full of selenium, which is great for your immunity. Eggs are great for the thyroid because they have large amounts or relatively large amounts of iodine in them. Eggs are full of B vitamins, and eggs are full of choline, which choline is incredibly beneficial for your brain. Eggs are full of fat-soluble vitamins, saturated fat, which is great for your health. Most people consume the wrong fats. They consume the vegetable oil fats, the processed fats, the trans fats, while excluding saturated fats, while excluding the fat-soluble vitamins from eggs. There is an agenda to make animal fats seem like the devil, while the New World Order promotes their massive, gigantic, propaganda-laden vegetable oil agenda. It's an absolute joke, ladies and gentlemen. Cholesterol, which is being demonized by the system, is a crucial piece to brain health. In fact, the myelin on the myelin sheath is 90 to 95% made up of cholesterol. Your hormones, your sex hormones, etc., are made up of cholesterol. Your entire nervous system, respiratory system, your entire immune system requires cholesterol. Now, if you look into the research of Dr. Joel Wallach and Peter Glidden, Dr. Joel Wallach has blown the lid off of the cholesterol agenda. He has provided so much beneficial information on why cholesterol is an essential nutrient, and he even promotes the consumption of up to 6 to 9 pastured, soft-boiled eggs a day. So, eggs are incredibly beneficial. I consume at least 12 a week, sometimes less, sometimes more. I'll consume them raw. I'll consume them as an omelet cooked on low to protect the cholesterol. You don't want to cook eggs on high, folks. There's been times where I'll consume 12 to 20 eggs a day in their raw form. I know that sounds crazy, folks, but a lot of what we've been told about nutrition, we've been lied to, in my opinion. And again, that's just an opinion. I'm not saying it's fact. But if you really look at the world with your blinders off, you'll start to see that a lot of the stuff that they're telling us is inconsistent. They want us off of eggs and animal fats. They want us on salt-restricted, cholesterol-restricted diets, while at the same time they promote a diet heavy in gluten-containing grains and cereals and pastas. Something's wrong here. They want us on the wrong food list. They want us off the proper foods that get us healthy so that we can be more manageable. Eggs are an incredible food source. You just have to make sure to eat quality eggs, preferably eggs from someone where you can go pick them up from the ranch, from the farm, and you know the farmer, you know what they're feeding them, because more often than not here in the Matrix, they're feeding chickens that lay eggs, they're feeding them soy and grain and things that they're not supposed to be eating. So we really have to make sure that we eat high quality eggs from a high quality source if we want them to be healthy. Beans and legumes. This is pretty self-explanatory, folks. As long as it's not in a can, as long as it's not processed, as long as you're buying it in a bag and the beans and the lentils are dry and you're cooking them, you're going to be all right. So I love chickpeas, adzuki beans, lentils, kidney beans. I stay away from soybeans, but I'll consume lima beans and, mung beans and all of that. So there's a list in the PDF that came with this course if you want to see all of the beans and legumes that I recommend and that I eat myself, it's in there. I don't want to make this too long because beans and legumes are pretty self-explanatory. Potatoes and root vegetables, one of my staples. I love potatoes. Potatoes, red potatoes, yellow potatoes, they're full of potassium. They have some pretty high quality protein in them as well. You can mash them. You can bake them. There's a handful of things that you can do with potatoes. I would just suggest not eating the skin of a baked potato because toxic byproducts are formed when it cooks. So turnips, potatoes, sweet potatoes, Thai sweet potatoes, these are really good high quality foods and quality carbohydrates sources, folks. So check out the list that came with this course for a thorough list of which potatoes to eat, because there are a couple that I don't suggest. Rice. Although this could have been within the gluten-free grains and starches list, I wanted to make this a separate tab on our food list, all its own. Because rice is an incredible food, in my opinion. I think that it's gotten a really bad rap. You know, a large majority of the world lives off of rice. A large majority of the world is too poor to eat anything other than rice as a staple, as the main bulk of their diet. And many of the cultures, ladies and gentlemen, that eat rice as a primary carbohydrate source and a fuel source, they live healthier than most of us here in the United States, here in the Matrix, where it's all processed foods, vegetable oils, and just eat whatever you want kind of diet. It's disgusting. Rice is an incredible food source. It is cheap, it is economical, it is filled full of valuable carbohydrates. I like to put, more often than not, I'll have 25% of my plate will be rice. And that constitutes my carb source when I eat my dinner. Rice is incredible. I like it with butter on it and salt and pepper and spices. You can sprinkle high ORAC spices on your rice and really get a lot of benefit from eating it. Now, before I wrap this segment up and we get on to the last food group, which is fruit, I want to say that you should eat rice with raw vegetables and cooked vegetables. You're going to digest it a lot better and you're going to assimilate it better. Rice by itself doesn't transit through the digestive system as effectively as it does with vegetables. If you eat rice with vegetables, there's a synergy between the two and you get more out of them when you eat them together. So I love white rice. That's my favorite type of rice. There's so much information out there on the health benefits of white rice. For some reason, it's gotten a really bad rap, but in my opinion, it's much better and healthier than brown rice. And on to our last food group, which is fruit. What an incredible food group. Cherimoyas, dragon fruits, mangoes, kiwis, star fruits, bananas, cantaloupes. Wow. Cantaloupe, preferably the Tuscan melon, was one of the foods that the Kundalini told me to eat regularly when it gave me a direct download on what to eat in my early 20s during one of my Kundalini experiences. So cantaloupe, preferably Tuscan melon, is one of my staples. Eat fruit, folks, just don't overdo it. And I would suggest highly, don't eat fruit afternoon. Eat it as a breakfast meal by itself because it is not compatible with other foods, including cooked foods. Fruit is designed to be eaten by itself. Fruit juices, as well as fruit, drink it in the morning. Don't drink it afternoon. All right, guys. So after we've just gone over the what to eat list and the what not to eat list, you may be wondering, okay, well, how do I put this all together? How do I implement it? How do I put it into my life and do something with it? So what I've done, you guys, is I've created a very basic rubric or template, if you will, for you to experiment with until you feel the need to either change things or develop your own kind of system on your own accord. And what I mean by that is your body is different than mine. What works for me may or may not work for you. So I'm going to provide you on the screen right now with what I call the 50-25-25. And what this is it is a template for your plate. So I would like to see you for a week. Start off with 50% of your plate vegetables, raw and cooked, a mixture. Add some sprouts. Also, you can have fruit, but I would wait to do that until you have dessert, because fruit with a meal just does not do well. Fruit is best consumed by itself. So what I would suggest doing is have fruit 2 or 3 hours away from dinner, or have it earlier in the day for your breakfast or a snack. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a template. The plate consists of 50% vegetables, a mixture of cooked and raw. You can add sprouts on there as well on that plate. In fact, I would highly suggest adding sprouts for the sheer amount of living energy in the sprouts. So we have half the plate vegetables, and then we have a quarter of the plate a protein source, and a quarter of the plate a carbohydrate source. Now this can be a root vegetable, a potato, or a sweet potato. This could be some white rice or some brown rice. And then you have a protein source. That could be a piece or two of chicken. That could be, ladies and gentlemen, a piece of fish, some shrimp. That could be eggs. So this is a very basic rubric or template for how to structure a plate. I would also suggest, if you're having your carb source, for instance, as like a potato, put a little bit of grass-fed butter on that potato. Don't cover it, but put a little bit of grass-fed butter on there and add a little bit of salt for the minerals. Salt also helps with the production of hydrochloric acid, stomach acid, which is essential for the digestion of foods. We really want to, if I can speak today, excuse me, we really want to build up our stomach acid. After years of eating gluten, we have directly assaulted our stomach acid and we've ruined our digestive systems. The what not to eat food list, by excluding those, you are going to liberate your body's tissues and your digestive system, and it's going to be able to regenerate. That's the beauty of excluding those foods. And by excluding those foods and eating the right foods, the foods on the what to eat food list, you finally are now providing raw materials, raw building blocks for your body so that it can regenerate. You see, in order to regenerate, you've got to get out of the way of the body being able to regenerate. And what's causing you to not be able to regenerate is the destruction caused by the foods on the what not to eat food list. Even if you're just eating one of those foods on that list, while eating the what to eat food list, while eating the foods on the what to eat food list, you're going to be doing damage on your system. So you really have to jump full speed ahead into this system and adopt it, entirely. There's no kind of I'm half in, half out. So the beauty of the what not to eat food list, folks, is that by excluding it, your body regenerates. And as your body regenerates and you put the foods on the what to eat food list into your system, you provide the raw necessary building blocks for your body to regenerate. In order for regeneration to happen, two things have to happen. You have to get out of the way of the body being able to regenerate. You have to stop putting the wrong materials in. And then simultaneously, you have to assist the body by putting the correct materials in, which are the amino acids, the pigments, the enzymes, and all the beneficial carbohydrates and sugars that are going to come from, including fats, the what to eat food list. So again, the 50-25-25 is 50% of your plate vegetables, a mixture of cooked and raw. 25% of that plate needs to be a protein source, and 25% needs to be a carbohydrate source. Just make sure to add a little bit of fat to your carbohydrate source. The grass-fed butter is very good for your brain. It's very good for your intestinal system. It's full of beneficial fat-soluble vitamins. This is really how we want to start eating. This is just a basic rubric, however, folks. There's days where I don't follow this. There's days where I'll eat just 12 to 16 eggs, as crazy as that sounds, and that's it, other than water and some coffee. I listen to my body. As you put the right materials into your body, as your mind starts to flower, as you start to stimulate arete, as you start to live with virtue, as you try to do your best with your diet and everything in your life, your inner guidance will open up and the inner lamp of health will ignite, and you will be able to see the road forward. You will begin to learn how to communicate with your body. Your body will send you signals in the form of foods, temptation, or not, I don't want to call it temptation, cravings. A craving is a form of a temptation, but temptation has such a negative stigma behind it, the word. Your body will give you cravings. And as you learn to work with your body and practice intuitive eating, you're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to look better. Your strength is going to quadruple. You see, we're here in the Matrix, and I explained this earlier in the video. We're programmed by thinking we need to have this exact amount of food and this exact amount of this protein and blah, blah, blah. We just need to get on the right track and put the necessary building blocks into our systems so that our body can regenerate. Once the regeneration takes place, you're going to know what to eat. You're going to know what to do. But you've got to eat from the right food list and exclude all the foods on the do not eat list, because again, the two do not match. The two do not, work together. It's just, this is a very basic system. If you can adopt the principles and follow them, everything else will fall into place, folks. So try the 50-25-25, 50% vegetables, 25% carbs, 25% protein. That's an easy way to structure a meal. It's very basic, and it's a legitimate way to eat. I mean, I've done this for weeks and weeks on end before, and derived nothing from but benefit from it. So just work with your intuition, try it, see how you feel, and then go from there. We want nothing but real food. Only the best for our bodies and our minds, folks. What we put into our mouth and how we eat says a lot about who we are. So when we do sit down to eat, we always avoid the foods on the what not to eat food list. Those foods will destroy your body, and over time, the lesser ingredients, the garbage, the synthetics, the vegetable oils, the gluten will destroy the integrity of your mind. We want to keep our mind pure and clean and open. And to do that, we need to put pure and clean ingredients into our system. Foods that were designed by nature. Foods that are compatible with the human body, with the human genome. A lot of the food that people are eating, the foods that are on the what not to eat food list, they're not compatible with our genome. And when we eat foods that are not compatible with our genome, we turn into, in essence, almost a genetically engineered individual. Because now we're exposing foreign material that doesn't belong in our systems into our bodies. We're bringing it willingly into our system. So, clean body equals clean mind. Again, folks, I want you to really remember that. Clean body equals clean mind. And in order to have a clean body, to have a clean mind, we have to eat clean food. That is why we want to put a huge emphasis on the what to eat food list. That has to be our primary foundation on how to move forward if you're going to follow this system, because you cannot partially follow this system and expect to get benefit from it. You have to adjust your life, make some sacrifices, and let go of all the foods on the what not to eat food list so that you can reap the benefits of eating from the quality foods or the what to eat food list. This is a very basic system, but I can see how it might be difficult for some people, because a lot of people, they're accustomed to eating things that are synthetic and things that are convenient. And convenient foods, more often than not here in the Matrix, they're like gas station foods, packaged foods, boxed foods, foods full of preservatives and pesticides, herbicides, etc. So sprouts and real animal products, dairy and eggs and rice and gluten-free grains and potatoes, folks, and high ORAC foods and fresh pressed vegetable juices and coffee and clean water, pineapple and things like that, things with energy. Foods that still have their molecular integrity in balance. When you process foods, when you fill them full of additives and cancer-causing constituents like carrageenan and titanium dioxides, you render the food's molecular integrity obsolete for the human genome, and when you consume those foods, you destroy yourself rapidly and willingly. Be careful what you eat, because you can dig a grave with your teeth. Again, be careful what you eat, because you can dig a grave with your teeth. So what I suggest when people first get into this system is eat as much as you want of the foods on the what to eat food list. Eat as much of them as you want. Now, obviously, have a little bit of discernment. And I don't mean to sound like I'm being judgmental, but you don't want to, for instance, just eat sprouts. You don't just, for instance, want to just eat eggs. You can on certain days if you feel intuitively drawn to certain foods, but over time you're going to want to incorporate little pieces of all of the food groups. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have one of each of the food groups every single day, but learn to eat your sprouts with meat. Learn to eat your sprouts with eggs. Learn to eat sprouts with high ORAC foods. Have some chocolate, real chocolate. In my recipe course, I'm going to show you how to make the most nutrient-dense, high ORAC chocolate available. So gluten-free grains, like what I'll do is I'll take some butter and I'll mix it with my rice, my white rice. I'll have some sprouts and some sauteed vegetables with some raw vegetables and a small piece of fish or some meat, and then I'll put lemon juice and salt on top of it with some high Orax spices. This is how we were designed to eat, you guys. When you eat real food, you don't have to worry so much about, oh, cholesterol or, oh, fat, blah, blah, blah. When you're eating real food, you're eating food that was designed by nature to be compatible with the human genome. It's when we eat foods that are not compatible with the human genome, that's when we run into issues. That's when we run into chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is when cholesterol becomes a problem. When we're eating real foods that are non-inflammatory, that are filled full of pigments and beneficial energy, nutrition, amino acids, vitamins, enzymes, again, those things are compatible with our genome, with our bodies, with our physiology, with our biochemistry. And what's really interesting is if you look at sprouts, if you look at foods that are foods that have been exposed to something known as Kirlian photography, you should look at the energy coming off of a sprout, and that's what Kirlian photography does. It captures the energetic resonance of an organism. It's incredible. I'll do my best to find some royalty-free pictures of Kirlian photography of sprouts, but I might not be able to include them in this course, but if not, I'll include them in the course materials, the PDF. Energy, you guys. We want to eat energy. That's basically how we need to look at food. We have to look at food as energy because that's what it is. Food is fuel. Fuel feeds our bodies so that we can have the energy necessary to live. Food stimulates and modulates our hormones and our metabolic processes, the health of our liver and our blood, you name it. So once you realize that food is fuel, what is fuel? Fuel is energy. Once you realize that food is energy, you'll realize that, okay, I don't want to put the wrong form of energy in my system, because if I do, I'll destroy myself. And if you destroy yourself, how do you ever plan on being successful financially, spiritually, you name it? We have got to take care of ourselves from the foundation up, you guys. Eat energy. Eat from the what to eat food list and exclude all foods on the what not to eat food list, and you will thrive. It's early morning here in California, and it's awfully gloomy out, and I'm going to start my day off with some black coffee. I'll probably have 3 to 4 of these little tiny cups over the next hour, and I've also woken up this morning, and the first thing I did was I took 2 capsules of Now Foods True Focus Neurotransmitter Support. I've got a lot of work to do today, and this is an excellent nootropic blend of different brain-building essential nutrients. So I'm going to talk more about this in the near future, but this really gets me going. This provides raw materials, raw building block for your brain, and our brains are under an assault here in the Matrix, folks. A lot of people struggle with focus issues, cognitive problems, and brain fog. That's largely due to the gluten people eat. That's largely due to the vegetable oils and the processed foods. So once you get away from those, more often than not, you're going to just notice a gigantic spike in your productivity, and your brain fog is going to go away. So what I usually suggest to clients is that once you get off the gluten, once you get off all the crap that's destroying your brain, that's causing, brain-related inflammation, which destroys your focus, etc. Once you get off all the foods on the what not to eat food list, you want to go through a process, a regeneration process, where you put essential nutrients and building blocks into your system to regenerate from the damage done from all the gluten and all the other bullshit. So there's going to be, brain regeneration courses available on my website in the near future, but for now I just want to share this with you guys. Once you get off the bad food list, it's imperative that you put the right foods into your system and stay on course with that. Otherwise, you guys, you're not going to experience much growth. The bad foods list is there to give you a, above the target view of exactly what not to put into your system, because those foods will destroy your health. They will destroy your well-being. So we remove the bad foods, we put the good foods in, and that kickstarts the metamorphosis process, the regeneration process. And it's very recommended that you start to put the essential nutrients back into your system after you get off of the bad foods to help, really spawn the regeneration process to kickstart it. But we'll have a lot of courses, a supplement mastery course in the near future as well. So I just wanted to mention that before we continue. 2 capsules of Now Foods True Focus. It's got DMAE in it, ginkgo extract, CoQ10, you name it. And I'm just going to have some coffee. It's about 11:20 a.m. and I've got a lot of work to get done today, so I'm going to eat some fruit. Fruit sugars are very beneficial for energy. Now, if you've listened to my section about fruit in the What to Eat food list section of this video, you will have realized that I said that do not eat fruit after noon. So I stay true to that, and I do not eat fruit after noon. So right now I'm going to have some breakfast. I have all this fruit to eat, so I really need to get going on eating more fruit. But I'm most likely just going to have some pineapple today. Pineapple has bromelain in it. It's got very beneficial enzymes. Pineapple is one of the most energetic fruits that you can put into your body. I've got some grapes, some really nice organic grapes. Tomorrow I may actually take these and run them right through the juicer. And this is the TriBest Z-Star wheatgrass juicer. It's a hand crank juicer. The juice goes through this auger. You push it down with a implement and the juice comes out through this little filter. So grape juice is incredibly beneficial. There is a book called The Grape Cure. I'm not sure if you guys have seen that book. Really interesting reading though, and I would highly suggest picking that book up. I've got some oranges here, you guys, a couple bananas, a grapefruit, and some organic blueberries. So I'll probably just munch on some pineapple, and I'll probably take a large handful of blueberries and maybe even a few grapes, depending on how I feel. Again, I've got all this fruit that I need to not let go to waste, and I need to eat it. So fruit always in the morning, never afternoon. There's a method to that. There's a reasoning behind that, folks. And I've just realized over the years that fruit afternoon does not work. It's not compatible with our development. We don't want to eat a lot of sugars throughout the day. We want to be able to put those sugars into our body in the morning for fuel, and then we want to burn them off. And then later in the evening, we'll have our animal products, we'll have our meat, we'll have our sprouts, etc. So there you have it. It's getting close to 2 p.m. and this is right around the time I normally consume my raw eggs. Now, I'm not suggesting that you consume raw eggs. I'm just telling you what works for me and what continues to work for me, as well as what continues to work for thousands of people. I have to be safe, and I cannot recommend that you eat raw animal products. I'm just showing you what I do, and you can use discernment to gauge whether or not you want to do something like this as well. Eggs are filled full of iodine, selenium, choline, B vitamins. They're full of beneficial cholesterol. We need cholesterol for the production of sex hormones, folks. The myelin on the myelin sheath is made largely of cholesterol. Our brain requires cholesterol. In fact, a pretty decent majority of our brain's composition is composed of cholesterol. The production and maintenance of cell membranes requires cholesterol. There's a reason, in my opinion, why they want us on cholesterol-restricted diets. So, cholesterol becomes dangerous when you eat a standard American diet filled full of excessive amounts of processed garbage, nitrates and nitrites, nitrosamines, all the bullshit on the what not to eat food list. When you eat a bunch of that crap, folks, and you eat cholesterol, cholesterol goes to the wrong places in your body. So again, I'm not recommending that you do this. I'm just telling you what works for me. And I find that raw eggs, although I love the taste of cooked eggs, raw eggs are so much more bioavailable. You feel different when you consume raw eggs. They digest better. You don't get gas. Now, I still consume cooked eggs, but when I do, I only consume scrambled eggs that were cooked on low with butter. When you heat cholesterol up, folks, and I also consume soft-boiled eggs, excuse me. When you heat up cholesterol, when you heat up these fat-soluble vitamins, you can damage the molecular integrity and the structural integrity of the nutrients within the egg. So this is why I like to consume raw eggs. So the molecular integrity is exactly as nature intended. But I will soft boil eggs, and I will cook scrambled eggs on low. So what I'm going to do, these have been in the refrigerator. So I'm going to take 4 of these eggs out. Let's pick some nice big ones. And I'm going to let them reach room temperature. I don't like putting really cold things in my body. I might actually take one more out just in case I want one later. That's kind of a smaller egg. I don't like putting really cold things in my body. It tends to shock my system. So, raw foods are incredibly beneficial, folks. I would love to see you eat a mixture of raw food and cooked food. But you've got to use discernment on whether or not you want to eat raw animal products. I'll eat raw meat. I'll eat raw cheese, raw milk, raw cream, raw eggs. But a lot of people feel more comfortable eating just like raw fruit or raw vegetables. And that's a great place to start. Sprouts would be probably your best bet because you're going to get the most bioavailability out of sprouts. Sprouts are full of enzymes. They're living foods. As we went over in the sprout section, they're not just raw foods. Sprouts are living food. So start with the sprouts. That's like the greatest place ever to start. You can start a sprouting garden for under $20. Very simple. All you need is some seeds and some mason jars and some lids. And you can buy all of that at Goodwill stores or Salvation Armies. Get big old mason jars, and then you can make a screen or even buy sprouting screens to put right on top of the jar. So I'm going to let these sit for probably, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour. I want them to warm up a little bit. And then I'll show you what that looks like in my glass when I drink it. But again, raw eggs, beneficial in my opinion. But if you're afraid of that, just cook them. Eggs are a big part of this diet system because they are nature's natural multivitamin, multimineral, and fat vitamin. Or fat vitamin, what am I saying? A fat supplement. Fat-soluble vitamins. Vitamin A, folks. A wide spectrum of B vitamins, phosphorus, etc. are contained within eggs. And we need cholesterol in our skin cells to be able to produce vitamin D, also known as hormone D, when our sun is hit with, or when our skin is hit with sunlight. It's a very complicated process that has to do with the liver as well, the conversion of light into vitamin D. But the first thing that we need is cholesterol so that we can actually produce vitamin D when the sun hits our skin. So 5 raw eggs, I'll probably only consume 4. But that's usually what I eat throughout the day. It's just all raw food, you guys. I consume 90% of my raw food during the day. And then at night, I'll have a main meal with cooked food and raw food mixed in. You see, this is a life force diet. I want to see you eating life force. And the greatest way to get life force into your system is to consume life force. And the most life force laden foods are the foods that have not been damaged by heat, because heat rearranges the molecular integrity, the structural integrity of food. If I cooked this cilantro to death, it would be dead. In the same way, if I took my hand and put it in a pan on high and let it sit there for 20 minutes, there wouldn't be any life left. This is why I consume a lot of raw food during the day. And then I'll eat at night some cooked food with some raw food, and I'll usually douse my food with lemon juice. Lemon is filled full of antioxidants and enzymes and beneficial constituents. So you've got to do what you need to do. Everybody's different, and what works for me may or may not work for you, but I would love to put a huge emphasis in this section of this video on consume raw food during the day, and then eat your cooked food at night. And there's days where I won't even eat any food during the day, and I'll just water fast or juice fast on carrot juice and things like that, which is a great form of raw food, or potato juice. Get the raw food in your system so that you can flood your body with healing enzymes. It is time for my raw eggs for the day. These have warmed up in the windowsill, and I'll probably have 4 today. Sometimes I'll have 3, sometimes I'll have 2, sometimes I'll have 6 or more. I am a huge fan of listening to my body and intuitive eating. And if I consume 4 raw eggs and my body's telling me I want more, then I'll consume more. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to crack these. I'll have 4 of them And then about 10 minutes after I eat those eggs or drink them, I'm gonna have 1 capsule of the MRM Nutrition Resveratrol. And this has Japanese knotweed root extract in it, containing 100 milligrams of trans resveratrol. This is a very potent antiviral. This is a very, very potent constituent, folks, resveratrol. It's got red wine extract and grapeseed extract. This is also a very potent antioxidant. And as you already know, if you've watched the what to eat food list section of this video, high ORAC foods that contain or exert a very potent antioxidant effect are a huge and very critical part of this diet system. So I also take high potency ORAC/antioxidant supplements, and I'm going to talk more about these supplements in the Supplement Mastery video course that will be available soon. I'm also going to, about an hour from now, take some pterostilbene. Pterostilbene from Doublewood Supplements. This is a very, very potent constituent. It's a very strong antioxidant, which helps us reduce oxidative stress and the damage done from eating years of vegetable oils, etc. But this is also a very potent nootropic compound. This exerts a very strong effect on the cognition, and it's great for memory. So we'll talk more about that in the future. I'm just trying to be transparent here and show you guys what I'm doing throughout the day. I know that this is not a supplement course, but I will show you some of the things that I'm doing during my day for supplementation. And I'm also going to take a multivitamin/multimineral today. And I suggest the K-Pax Immune as well as the K-Pax Energy vitamins, the pharmaceutical grade vitamins. If you're going to take vitamins, they're very expensive, but they're the best on the market other than the longevity stuff. That's relatively expensive as well. So let's just crack these eggs. Now these are organic eggs, you guys. And if you're wondering, just let me say really quickly before I drop everything in my cup. If you're wondering why this symbol is beneath my my chalice, I explain this in the upcoming section in this video called the Divine Chalice. I highly suggest watching that section and integrating it into your life. Long story short, symbols exert a strong effect not only on our subconscious mind, but on atoms and molecules, etc. Symbols affect water, food, you name it. So I'm going to explain that in the upcoming video. Looks like I might have gotten a couple of shells. These were expensive eggs and they're not that good quality. I'm really pretty upset at where I bought these. The yolks are relatively orange and you really want, or the yolks are relatively yellow, excuse me. You want orange yolks. So quality is everything if you're consuming raw animal products. So I'm going to consume this after it sits and charges on that flower of life for about 5 minutes. And then I'm going to take some resveratrol. In about an hour or so from now, I'm going to take some pterostilbene. These are very similar compounds. Pterostilbene just has a better bioavailability. This is a very small molecule, resveratrol, but it exerts a very, very potent effect on cellular health and immunity. All right, guys, so it's like 3 p.m., a little after 3 p.m., and I've already had 1 glass of water, but I'm going to have another one. This is not distilled water because I don't actually have any distilled water at the moment. I haven't made any. So on days when I don't have distilled water, or if I just don't have some because it's actually in the distillation process, I'll just drink tap water that's been double filtered with the Brita water filter, and I also put some shungite pieces in there. So again, you want to drink at least 1 to 2 glasses of water a day. A lot of people don't drink enough water, and a lot of people think that, oh, you know, I drink tea, I drink coffee, I drink juice, I'm hydrated. No, coffee and tea, these are diuretics. They actually expel fluid from your system, which flushes minerals out of your body. So make sure to put high quality water in your system, and preferably add some minerals. I only suggest adding minerals to water, however, if it's been distilled. There's already enough stuff in filtered water because the filters just can't get enough of the crap out of the water. So only filter or only add minerals to distilled water. That's the safest bet. I've got 2 types of honey here. This is cheaper honey. I got 3 of these bears for $8.99, and this is the Kirkland organic raw honey. It's from Brazil, and this, however, does not say it's unfiltered, so they still run this honey through a filter. So not the best quality honey, but I still eat it because it's cheap, and when I'm on a budget, this is the way to go. I also have some Heavenly Organics Jammu honey. This is 100% raw, glyphosate free. This is high quality honey that I got on sale. So honey is a big part of this diet, and I consume 1 to 3 tablespoons of honey a day. So I'm gonna have some now that we're getting closer to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm gonna have probably just 1 tablespoon of the Kirkland honey. This stuff is better for you, but I like the taste of this better. All right, guys, it's getting later in the day. It's past 4:30, and I'm craving a juice. So every day I try to drink 1 juice. I only have these carrots. I mean, I have some grapefruit and I have some oranges, but I don't like drinking or eating fruit past noon. So I'll juice these carrots, after I clean them up, and I might throw in a red potato or 2 if I have them. Yes, you can juice raw potatoes. Raw red potatoes are a skin health secret that a lot of people don't know about. But again, I'll take whatever I can that's in the refrigerator, as long as it's not a fruit if I'm juicing afternoon, and I'll throw it in my juicer and drink it. We've got to get away from this idea that everything has to taste good. In fact, many of the best things for us don't taste all that good, but as you continue to eat them, you will, over time, terraform your insides and your innards, and you will actually start to crave the foods that you think are gross now. So the only fruit that I will technically juice afternoon, you guys, is like lemons and limes and even like a grapefruit, just because there's not a whole lot of sugar in them, especially if they're homegrown. This is a store-bought grapefruit, and I'm sure as hell not going to eat that. But we have a lot of fruit here in the house, at this house in California. This is a apple tree that's supposed to have been dead years ago. We've had to support it with beams, and the thing is entirely rotten for the most part. I mean, look at that. But every year, this thing produces massive amounts of nutrient-dense, vitamin-rich, enzyme-saturated apples that I juice. So the key to fruit, you guys, is to consume it before noon and to drink it before noon. A lot of people with focus issues that eat a lot of fruit, when I communicate with them, you know, they're consuming fruit throughout the day. Try to consume it only before noon. That's how we do it on this system. And it may sound inconvenient that you can't have oranges and bananas afternoon, but once you get used to this, there's a good chance you're going to feel a hell of a lot better. So a general rule of thumb, you guys, is try to drink 1 fresh pressed juice a day on an empty stomach to get some enzymes into your system. These foods are really going to help stimulate the regeneration process, the enzymes, the natural vitamins. These raw foods have not been exposed to heat, so their molecular integrity is still intact. Get them in your system. An 8 to 12 ounce juice every day that you make yourself, preferably from fruits and vegetables and herbs that you've actually grown or foraged yourself. All right, guys, so it's getting closer to dinner time, and I've had 2 little cups of cream today. Little tiny cups. These are hand-me-downs from my grandmother on my father's side. And when I do have cream, you guys, I eat raw cream, or I drink raw cream. Yes, I drink cream whole. Occasionally I'll mix it with coffee, but rarely I'll do that. Usually I just drink 1 to 2 cups of raw cream a day. Now I will also consume raw milk, but it's becoming exceptionally difficult to find raw milk, you guys. But if you are going to consume milk, only consume whole fat milk, never 2%, 1% or fat free. That's really not beneficial to your health and dangerous, but you want to find raw milk. Sprouts Farmers Market is one of the only places other than Whole Foods that sells raw milk, but even that type of raw milk is not as good as it should be. So again, I've taken some True Focus today. I took some resveratrol, and I took some pterostilbene. We will talk more about this in the supplement mastery course in the future, and I'm also going to take 1 to 200 micrograms of selenium. I'll probably do that before I go to bed. And you know what? I've also consumed some calcium and magnesium from Now Foods. This is calcium citrate, magnesium citrate, and vitamin D3. This is a very synergistic blend. It tastes absolutely horrible, But you know, when I started taking this, I hated the way it tastes, and now what's weird is I'm starting to almost enjoy it, even though it tastes bad. I told you guys earlier how our taste buds pleomorph. So I've also got some quercetin up here from Double Wood Supplements. This has bromelain in it as well. This is a very potent antioxidant. And the reason I'm showing you guys these three in particular is because antioxidants are a very important part of this system. That's why I put such an emphasis on high ORAC foods, high ORAC spices, eating a lot of antioxidants, consuming lemon water, you guys, which I wish I had some lemons to make some lemon water with. I'm actually out. Otherwise, I would show you guys how I make my lemon water. I might take a pre-existing clip of me making lemon water and put it in this video just to show you how I make my lemon water, because it's a kick-ass recipe and it's really strong. But resveratrol, you guys, again, this has the red wine extract, the grapeseed extract. This is potent stuff. And this is one of the cheaper forms of resveratrol on the market. It's like $9 for 60 capsules, and it's a 60-day supply. So quercetin, pterostilbene, resveratrol, berberine, these are potent antioxidants, including, you know, citrus bioflavonoids, cissus extract. There's so many really amazing supplemental antioxidants on the market. I would highly suggest getting on some type of antioxidant. So, anyways, you guys, that's pretty much it until dinner. I've had honey, I've had some cream. I don't really have that many groceries in the refrigerator right now, and I don't have any sprouts. Otherwise, I would show you just how many sprouts I normally eat. But here in California, I've been away from my sprouting equipment, which is mostly in Virginia. When I'm in Virginia, I'm eating sprouts constantly. In fact, towards the end of this video, I'm going to show you a clip of my sprouting setup in Virginia, because I usually have an entire table with sprouts going: sunflower, radish, fenugreek, clover, you know, pea sprouts, mung bean sprouts in general. I eat a lot of enzymes from sprouts. A ton of sprouts I eat. It's a huge emphasis on my diet. Hopefully they work for you. They may not work for you. You may do better on just raw vegetables or cooked vegetables, but I would highly suggest incorporating sprouts into your diet. I wouldn't do too many at first, because if you eat too many sprouts at once and you're not used to it, you might not be able to digest them very well. But until dinner, that pretty much sums it up, you guys. This segment is called the Divine Chalice, and I would love to see you start doing this. I would love for you to obtain a special glass and a symbol that's dear to your heart, and maybe a statue or something else that's very close to you spiritually. I'd like to see you start to charge your water with spiritual symbols and with intentions. I want you to rub your hands together and do Reiki or energy work on 1 glass of water a day. I really want you, just once a day starting out, to start drinking a glass of water, clean water, filtered or distilled water. This is distilled, but I want you to leave it on a symbol that's close to your heart for over an hour, preferably 4 to 6 hours. And when you drink this water, I want you to use your creativity in your mind, your visualization skills. I want you to see that water going into your system and filling your body full of light and healing you from the tips of your toes to the top of your head. I want you to imagine that light is growing inside of your system while you drink this water. In fact, before you even drink it, I want you to pick the glass up, and I want you to use your visualization to see light emanating from this water. This is something that everybody should be doing on a daily basis. In fact, I don't just drink water out of my divine chalice. I'll actually drink my raw eggs out of this chalice. So I get really intimate with the fluid and the food that I put into my system. I do a lot of visualization skill work with it as well. Now, it has to be personalized, and I want you to create a system like that of your own, but in order for me to get you to go in that direction, you need to start with the basics, and that is water. So this is a flower of life. This symbol is very special to me based on my interactions with it in my early 20s during my first full-blown Kundalini awakening. The angel is very special to my heart as well because of the experiences that I had in my early 20s with the angels and how they connect to this symbol. This symbol contains the seed of life, these 7 interlocking spheres, and within those 7 interlocking spheres is the Kabbalistic tree of life. This contains the 5 Platonic solids. This is the creation map that Spirit uses to create physical matter. It is one of the most potent symbols that you can use to charge anything, whether it be, a house, putting one of those up on a wall, putting one underneath your bed, putting one on all of your doors. It's a very protective symbol. It represents perfect union between spirit and matter. So what I'll do, you guys, as a way to increase the amount of energy in my system, is I'll drink a minimum of 1 of these glasses a day after it's charged for 4 to 6 hours. And I will even expose this to solfeggio harmonics, binaural beats, and Gregorian chant and other things like tuning fork noises, so that this water is supercharged by the time it gets into my system. Now, when you drink this, I want you to ritualize it, and I want you to see yourself becoming full of light. And as that light increases in your system, I want to see all of the things in your light. I want you to imagine in your mind's eye what it would feel like for everything in your life that needs to be fixed. I want you to feel what it would feel like for those things to be fixed. I want you to see yourself with perfect health. In fact, I would love, as you drink this, for you to imagine in your mind's eye you in front of a magic mirror. And in the mirror, the reflection shows you only the best qualities of yourself. Self-love, no doubt, no denial, etc. This is a way to daily fill yourself with life force energy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the divine chalice. You need a symbol to cut out, and I would highly suggest putting this on an altar. This is actually in my kitchen window, but I'm doing this because there's light here. I normally do this on my altar in my room. You can light a candle next to it. And this is really one of the key kind of like gateways that opens you up to the spiritual realm. You've got to learn the connection between spirit and matter. You've got to learn the connection between food and your spiritual life, and this is one of the greatest ways to do it. Clean, spiritual water, symbols, and ritualizing the experience. Imagining yourself being successful while you drink this, etc. This is an energetic work ritual to reprogram your subconscious mind. But in order for you to get the benefit out of this, you've really got to take it to the next level. You've got to do it consistently, every single day. You deserve powerful visualizations every day. You deserve that. You see, we oftentimes get thrown off in life because of how our mind gets the best of us. Here in the Matrix, there's so much stress that eventually we forget how to have positive visualization about ourselves. We forget how to use our minds to our benefit because there's so much perceived stress. This is a way to unplug from all that and to reprogram yourself with positivity. And through positivity, we ignite the flint that catches fire on the tinder of spirit. We have got to do this on a daily basis. Your body is primarily water, folks. Your cells use water to communicate messages between one another. All of your 100 trillion plus cells, you might want to put the best quality fluid into your system. And we are a physical body with a spirit anchored into it, and your spirit loves spiritual things. So when you start to incorporate spirituality with physicality, with the physical, you really start to grow. So program your water, folks. 4 to 6 hours, put it on top of a symbol that's dear to your heart. Maybe put some flowers around it, a statue. And I would also suggest rubbing your hands together until they're very hot and then placing them on the glass, and imagine your energy going into the water, and maybe say some prayers over it This is how we fill up the spiritual gas tank on a day-to-day basis, folks. The divine chalice. And I'll consume water out of this, green juice, raw eggs, and most of my fluids. They come from this docking station, if you will. They charge on this flower of life. And while I'm looking at this, I'm imagining light coming out of all of these points and going right into the water. And my visualization skills are very potent, and I can actually see light emanating through this water. This is healing water. Make your own healing concoctions and potions with the divine chalice ritual. Water is really important. Water, you guys, is responsible for how our cells, our 100 trillion plus cells, communicate with one another. We need water to act as a conduit to flush poisons out. There are so many different physiological functions that take place within the body, that require water. Most people are chronically dehydrated, and if you don't believe that, I highly recommend picking up a book called Your Body's Many Cries for Water by Dr. Fedorun Batmangalij. That man has done an extensive amount of amazing research on the efficacy of using water as a therapy. A lot of symptoms and things that people suffer from, in my opinion, can be remedied with water. That's not a medical fact. All I'm saying is that based on my experiences personally and the research I've looked at, many people can benefit greatly from water for reducing inflammation and just a handful of other things. So, water is practically free here in the Matrix. I do, however, recommend that you buy yourself a quality water filter or a distiller. Now, this is not distilled water. This is actually filtered water, and I'm not going to add these minerals to this because it already has minerals in it. Filtered water leaves a lot of the minerals and other content in the water. It's not my preferred or preferable choice of water. I am a fan of distilled water. But in order for distilled water to be healthy, you guys, it needs to be restructured. When water goes through a distillation process, it's a form of alchemical chaos transmutation. It's a chaotic transfer of energy. It's boiling for multiple hours, and steam is rising and condensing and falling into a collection chamber. When water carries memory, you guys, and when you boil water in a boil kettle like a distiller, it loses its memory. And it becomes a blank slate, so to speak. It doesn't have any of the old information in it anymore, and it needs to be reprogrammed. So water is highly metaphysical. Some of this stuff may or may not make sense. Years ago, I came across a couple of books by a man named Masaru Emoto, and he has a series of books about how water reacts to thought and intention. And it does indeed make sense that because the mind and intentions actually create energy, that the energy can actually affect the physical things around me or around you. Thought is much more powerful than we recognize. But when you distill water, you're putting it through a form of alchemical transmutation through chaos. You're boiling everything. You're leaving all the sediment on the boil chamber, and everything rises. All the pure water rises as steam condenses, goes up a coil, and then falls down into a collection jar. There's a handful of different distillers on the market. The Mega Home water distiller is the one that I used for multiple years before it broke, and I distilled upwards of 3 to 4 gallons a day with that thing. The thing constantly ran every day for upwards of 12 hours, and it continued to work for multiple years. So I do really like that model. Apparently, a lot of the distillers on the market that are really cheap, like $80 to $110, work just as well. I don't have any personal experience with them, you guys. So chances are, however, they're pretty awesome distillers, even though they're cheap. According to Amazon.com and the reviews, the cheaper models are just as good as the more expensive models, the Mega Home models and whatnot. And the Mega Home water distiller is actually relatively cheap at $200. There's distillers that go for $700, $1,500. There's a lot of different models, from budget friendly to very expensive. But for personal use, a Mega Home water distiller, a distiller that's going to distill 1 gallon at a time, that's what I prefer. I'm not recommending that you use distilled water. I'm just telling you what works for me, and what works for me may or may not work for you. But distilled water, you guys, is fascinating to me because it's the greatest way to strip the water down to its bare bones. And due to the fact that the water here in the matrix is filled full of hydrofluorosilicic acid, hexafluorosilicic acid, chlorine, chloramines, contaminants, pipe residues, scaling lime, inorganic material, parasites, plutonium, radioactive elements, hexafluorosilicic acid, I think I said that already, fluorine, fluoride. The list goes on and on and on. I'm going to put a link in the description box below to the EWG water website where you can type in your city's area code and see how many contaminants are floating in your tap water. Chances are you'd be shocked. It's amazing how many excessive contamination violations there are every year in the states across the United States for the water supply. It's deplorable. Water digests easier than food, you guys, and because of that, it's used as a way to affect the genes here in the matrix. A lot of people don't like to believe me when I say they're using the water to affect our health. But if you look up the research and look up each of the contaminants that's been found in massive abundance in most big cities' water supply, you'll find out that they damage the health. They damage cognitive health, cardiovascular health, musculoskeletal health. The list goes on and on and on. So distilled water is really interesting to me because it's the greatest way to get all that junk out, completely take it down to just H2O, get all the residues and all the garbage out, and then you can rebuild it with minerals here. But this is a basic water restructuring method that anyone can utilize if you're restructuring distilled water. And again, you do not want to add these minerals in this stuff if this water is filtered, because filtered water already has dissolved solids in it. You don't want to add more to something that already has a bunch of dissolved solids. So what I do, you guys, is because I'm aware of the fact that, or I can't call it a fact technically, because I am privy to the intuitive hunch that water reacts to intention and symbols. Again, Masaru Emoto exposed words to solutions of water like I love you or you're perfect and things like that. And it actually changed the water's structure when it was frozen. Under a microscope, you could see how the intention of the words that were placed on the water actually affected the water's structure. So if you want to get the most out of your water, you don't just want to distill water and chug it. You want to put thought into what you're doing. In order to attain spiritual, physical benefit from your craft, your journey with health, you want to put a lot of time and effort into it, because these are the building blocks that are going to rebuild your body, ladies and gentlemen. Again, water digests easier than food, and because of that, we need to take extra care into how we treat our water, because water is responsible for thousands of different physiological functions, and it's how our cells communicate messages from one another. That's a very simplified way of explaining it, but it's much more complicated than that. But water is an essential tool. This machine that we operate is a water machine. It loves clean water. In my opinion, it likes clean water more than juice and most teas, because most teas and juices are diuretics. They cause the body to flush out water that's necessary, you name it. However, there are amazing teas that you should be drinking every day. But what I'll do, you guys, is because I'm aware of the fact that this distilled water has no minerals in it anymore, it's a blank slate, I will immediately, once I distill my water, put it in a glass 1-gallon collection jar and take sacred symbols. I usually use the flower of life, and I'll cut that out, and I will laminate it at like Kinko's or Staples and have it taped on the glass collection jar. I'll tape it to it. Now you have a vessel that has very positive symbology on it. Now, a lot of people in the New Age movement like to bash the flower of life. They say it's an evil symbol. Clearly, they don't know enough about it, because the flower of life harbors the 5 platonic solids. This is a creation grid, a rubric for creation, for how light condenses into matter. This symbol has a lot to do with Kundalini. In this symbol, you can create Metatron's cube. You can create the fruit of life. You can find the germ of life, the seed of life. You can find the Kabbalistic tree of life. This is a creation rubric, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably, in my opinion, the most holy symbol that there is. This also has ties to the halls of Amenti, as discussed in the Emerald Tablets of Thoth or Thoth, the Atlantean, depending on who you ask. He's also known as Tahuti. Some people call him Thoth, Thoth, you name it. This flower of life has direct correlations to the Kundalini. This is a very sacred symbol. Thoth was a master of this symbol. Once the Kundalini awakens, this will actually surround you beneath your feet and above you. You can actually see it. It becomes a gigantic, it's a part of the way that the aura activates. This symbol has a lot to do with our genetics and our cells and our biology, because it harbors the seed of life, the flower of life, the germ of life, the egg of life, and the Metatron's cube. It contains the 5 platonic solids, you guys, the cube, etc. This affects our cells, you name it. This has, if you wanted a symbol that has hundreds and hundreds of beneficial attributes to use on, you know, something like your water that you're going to drink, this would be it. So I tape a laminated copy of that to my jug, and of course, if I'm using distilled water, I'm using glass. Then I will add, you guys, I will add a small little pinch of pink Himalayan salt. Pink Himalayan salt allows us to tap into the crystalline matrix of the Earth's memory. Pink Himalayan salt, you can also use Celtic sea salt. This is very beneficial stuff. You guys, this helps with the potassium balance within the body. A lot of people like to bash salt. If you're afraid of salt, I wouldn't use it, because if you're putting something in your water that you're afraid of, that's not going to create a very beneficial subconscious programming. So you can leave that out if you're weary about it. The research shows that pink Himalayan salt is high in minerals. It helps the body, it helps the cells, you name it. So I just use a small pinch, you guys, no more than that much. So, excuse me. Then I will add about 3 drops of fulvic acid. This is from earthshiftproducts.com. I prefer this fulvic. There's a handful of different fulvic acids on the market. These are plant mineral electrolytes. These are very, very powerful. It's full of fulvic, humic, and ulmic acids. These are amazing, especially fulvic acid for the cells. So I'll just take 3 drops of that and put it in an entire gallon. I will take 3 to 5 drops of ionic magnesium, or 10 drops, excuse me, 10 to 15 drops of ionic magnesium concentrate into the mixture. And I'm going to pause this, charge the battery really quick, and then we'll continue. All right, you guys. So you can also use a product, if you wanted to leave out the fulvic, you can use a product called Active Ionic from, I believe, Omica makes that. And you add about 6 to 12 drops of that to your water. So this is something that I've used, that I've created. You can tailor it to however you want, you guys. You could add apple cider vinegar to this. Even though it will taste kind of gross, you can add a little bit of apple cider vinegar because it's high in minerals. But I prefer the fulvic. Now I will go times, you guys, where I will drink, there are times throughout the year where I'll drink distilled water without minerals for detox. But if you're fasting every day and you're drinking distilled water and you're depleting your body's water reserves and whatnot, you want to add some minerals back in there. Minerals will help the body stay grounded and healthy during a fast. But there are, however, times where all I'll actually leave out the fulvic. About 6 months of the year, if I'm drinking distilled water, I'll just make it like this, where I'll add a pinch of pink Himalayan salt. I'll add about 15 to 20 drops of ionic magnesium concentrate. But on a basic recipe, we'll do this one more time. If I'm just using these two, the salt and the magnesium concentrate, and you can get this from earthshiftproducts.com, 10 to 15, sometimes 20 drops of this in a whole gallon of water, and a pinch of pink Himalayan salt. If I am adding the fulvic, personally, a lot of people will add more, but I like being gentle with it because the stuff's really, really strong. I'll add about 2 to 3 drops, sometimes only 1, of the fulvic acid to an entire gallon of water, a pinch of pink Himalayan salt, and about 5 to 10, sometimes less or more, of the ionic magnesium concentrate. So this is something that I kind of switch up and change depending on how my body feels and my intuition at the time. So experiment with this, you guys, if you're interested. But these are the main building blocks: ionic magnesium concentrate, crystal energy, fulvic acid. I do recommend that instead of using this, or if you want to use this, that's fine, but I really think that the active ionic from omica or omica is really powerful and more gentle. So again, I'm just telling you guys what works for me. Got salt all over the counter. But I'll have a flower of life laminated, taped to my glass jar. I'll add all these constituents to it at night, and then I'll place it in the moonlight, because the moonlight, you guys, has a direct effect on all bodies of water on the earth. It affects the oceans, it affects the fluids in your system, rivers, streams. Moonlight is very, very powerful for restructuring water. Sunlight can actually kind of diffuse and rearrange everything, the energy contained therein, in the water. So unless you're trying to make something that's known as solar water, to download solar energy and drink it internally, I recommend following this protocol and placing it in the moonlight. And what I'll do, you guys, is I will place my glass jar on the dirt in the moonlight to ground the vessel to the earth's energy. And when you combine these constituents that are all from the earth, you're trying to just amp up the waters and reprogram it. Because again, distilled water that has been recently distilled loses all memory. It becomes a blank slate, an open surface like a sponge, and you need to reprogram it with intention. I'll place all these constituents in it, put the symbol on it, place it in the moonlight, in the dirt, in the backyard, usually around some flowers. I'll place it in the moonlight all night, and when I wake up, I'll have that. And I will recite prayers over this. It sounds kind of crazy, but I really enjoy making holy water. To me, water is more important than food 9 times out of 10 because it digests so easily. You really want to go out of your way to put a lot of thought and creation and time and effort into your water. I'll do Reiki on my vessels. I'll imagine light coming from my hands and the meridians in my hand into the water and filling it full of energy. You can really do whatever you wish. You can use whatever symbols you wish. Whatever resonates with you or whatever intuitively feels right, I would go with that. So symbology, minerals, clean water, intention, those are the keys to reprogramming water. I get asked often, you guys, what I like to eat throughout the day, what I like to have for dinner, and I prefer to eat like this, you guys. This in no way, shape, or form is all of my sprouts currently, and some of these you guys aren't even ready yet, but I'm constantly growing sprouts. These will be ready in a few days, you guys. You can see they're sprouting their tails, but this alfalfa is about a day and a half from being ready. I'll eat it like this, but you can still see that there's a little bit of yellow. Some of these leaves, or some of the yellow hasn't turned to chlorophyll completely yet. So you got a lot of sprouts. This is alfalfa, you guys. It grows in these bunches, so it may not look like a lot, but when you actually spread that out, that's a lot of food. So I'm eating sprouts daily. I'm eating a ton of alfalfa. I've got some peas here, you guys, that I've sprouted that I'll turn into pea shoots. I've got a mixture over here of radish and alfalfa that's currently growing. Again, it's not ready yet, but it's getting there. In a couple of days, that'll be ready to eat. I've got more radish sprouts. I've got a mixture of fenugreek and lentils, and what else is in here? Alfalfa, just a handful. There's about 6 different sprouts that I've mixed in this particular blend, which I also have here as well. This is alfalfa, and this is the almighty sunflower sprout. The seeds that I'm soaking, getting some of the junk off the shells, and those take a little bit longer, you guys, but these are really high in protein. The amino acid profiles in these sprouts are really, really high quality and very, very good for you, you guys. Sprouts, in my opinion, are how I healed my digestion. Sprouts, coffee enemas, proper diet, adequate levels of natural protein, you guys. So people ask me all the time, how can you get quality protein in your diet? Sprouts. That's one way. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it definitely is a valid way to get some really not only the living protein, you guys, but this stuff is full of enzymes. The thing about sprouts that's beautiful is that it's living when you eat it. This is in the process of growth. It's not been separated from like a vine. It's not like a piece of fruit that you buy in the store that's been taken off the tree and disconnected from the energy source. Got some lentils over here. You guys, you can sprout lentils. Lentil sprouts are healthier for you than just cooking lentils by themselves. So sprouting food is a huge part of my dietary makeup. I've got a handful of seeds here. In no way, shape, or form is this all of my seeds, but I'll even take things like chia seeds and I'll soak the chia seeds, you guys, with things like sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, and flax seeds, and I'll soak that stuff in pineapple juice, soak those seeds overnight, and then I consume the soaked seeds. I get about 80% of my calories from living foods like this. Energetic, living, enzyme-rich foods, you guys. Again, sprouts, the magic of sprouts is the fact that it's full of enzymes. It's living when you eat it. Whereas produce from the store has been separated from its energy source and it's rapidly dwindling in its life force potentials. So I leave this stuff once it gets to this point in the windows and get some sunlight, and it's literally just converting everything to chlorophyll. This is all living energy. So get up nice and close, you guys. I'll make wraps with these. I'll put this in nori. I'll mix it with lentils. Again, I just wanted to share with you guys because I get asked often, how do you like to eat? Where do you get a lot of your calories from? This was a small investment, you guys. Buying bulk bags of sunflower sprouts, buying bulk bags of alfalfa, super cheap. And this is like 4 tablespoons or less of alfalfa, you guys. It turned into that much food. You go to the store and you buy alfalfa. A little thing of alfalfa from the store like that, less than that, about that much alfalfa will be about $6. Depending, if you're in California, you're looking at $5.99 for a little thing of alfalfa from the store, and it's filled full of bacteria. The stems are usually slimy. Sprouts from the store are disgusting. You never want to buy them. Grow them yourselves, you guys. Let's see. A little thing of radish sprouts. This is like $13. And I'm going to be able to grow so much radish. This whole thing will fill up, you guys. And that took like 2 tablespoons. This bag of alfalfa, I believe, was $10. Do you have any clue how much alfalfa I'll be able to grow from a 1-pound bag? You're really not being smart, you guys, if you're buying the majority of your produce, if you're buying the majority of your food from the supermarket. You're just not. They're taking your money from you, and they're giving you very low quality foods that are not very just life enhancing. So I'm going to wrap this one up, you guys. This is a small amount of my sprouts and my seed collection. I just want to give you guys kind of a briefer, or excuse me, a more in-depth look into my life behind the scenes, what I'm eating. The Life Force Diet Mastery System is a basic system which shows you which foods to eat and which foods to exclude from your diet. By following the lessons contained within the video that you just watched, I believe that you can experience profound spiritual growth, emotional growth, physical and mental growth, folks. It only requires your participation. Through your participation and through you using the lessons contained within the video that you just watched, again, we can really quantum leap into a better version of ourselves. I've seen it time and time again. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people, whether it be loved ones, myself, clients, etc. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people's issues in life disappear simply by changing what they eat. So when we remove the bad foods, which are on the what not to eat food list, and we replace them with the proper foods, we grow. When we eat the foods that nature intended for us to eat, we by default live in accordance to natural law, folks, and that's what this system has been all about. So I really do indeed hope that you will change your life. I do indeed hope that you will remove the gluten from your intake. I do indeed hope that you will remove the vegetable oils and all the other poisons, because these are the things holding us back as a species. These bad foods and the way that we live our lives in such an unnatural manner, this is what is causing a stasis in spiritual development. This is why we do not have life force. This is why we do not have arete. Arete is moral excellence. We stimulate arete by eating properly, folks. It's one of many ways to stimulate arete, and arete, as we went over before, is the necessary vehicle that we use to attain eudaimonia. So if you want more life force, if you want a healthy, happy life, you have got to have life force in your system, folks. You have got to have arete. We do not have arete when we're eating the bad foods, when we are separated from moral excellence. Every time we sit down to eat, we are supposed to be eating with intelligence. We are supposed to be eating with discernment, folks. Eating is a ritual. It is a prayer of sorts. And what you put into your system dictates how you regenerate. It dictates every single aspect of who you become. In fact, every 3.5 years, your body goes through an entire metamorphosis, a regeneration based on the quality or lack thereof of the foods that you've put into your system. Dr. John W. Apsley II lays this out beautifully in his book, The Genesis Effect, Spearheading Regeneration with Wild Blue-Green Algae. Your stomach lining, your blood, your bones, your tissues, your cells, your molecules, your atoms, every piece that makes you who you are goes through a constant metamorphosis predicated upon the quality of food that you're eating, water that you're drinking, and air that you're breathing. And that's why we went over the 3 pillars of health. You have got to immediately, if you have not done so already, get an air filter, a water filter, and you've got to start eating the right foods. So in the accompanying PDF that came with this course, I have a list of the foods to eat and not to eat. Just eat real foods, folks, in as large of quantity as you want. Do not worry about calories. Just worry about getting on the right track. Once you get on the right track, then worry about calories. Once you start putting the healthy fluid into your system, once you get the air filter hooked up, once you get the intake of the proper nutrients coming into your body on a regular basis, then worry about calories, folks. We need to stop worrying so much about our figure and weight loss. We need to instead worry about the quality of raw materials that we're putting into our system, because the quality of raw materials that we put into our system dictates how efficiently our blood regenerates, and it also not only regeneration, but it dictates the health of our blood. And the health of our blood is based on what we put into our bodies. And the health of our blood dictates how our blood regenerates. The blood is the river of life, folks. Without healthy blood, you will never truly be healthy. So I really want to try to encapsulate something here and make it very easy to understand. The raw materials are what's most important. You see, you could go on a calorie restricted diet eating fast food and lose weight. And you could look healthy, because most people have been programmed to think that a skinny body equals a healthy inside. You can be incredibly thin. You can have 6-pack abs. In fact, you can have a 12-pack of abdominal muscles and have a diseased liver from all of the vegetable oils. You could have a beautiful body, large biceps, toned chest, you name it, large triceps, and you could have a diseased, destroyed set of intestines. You could have leaky gut. You can have a healthy looking body and look good on the outside and have an absolutely inflamed body, brain and nervous system. We have got to get away from this idea that, oh, she looks good in a swimsuit, so she's healthy. That is so far from the truth. And that's why the Life Force Diet Mastery System exists. I want you to get away from all the dogma. I want you to get out of your mind and stop worrying about how you look and all this other nonsense. Just worry about putting the raw materials in. Do the 50-25-25 that we talked about earlier in the video. Work with that. You may really do well with that. You may need to tweak things around a bit. You see, I'm not going to get on here and say that you, with your unique genes, need to follow exactly what I do, because that doesn't work. What works for me may or may not work for you. What I have found works for everyone at large, however, is the right foods. So within the what to eat food list, folks, there's a broad assortment of foods. And I want you to use your intuition to eat from that food table, and then over time gauge how it makes you feel. You'll find what works best for you and what works best for me. Or what works best for you and what doesn't work good for... I think you catch my drift, excuse me, folks. For instance, nuts don't work well with my system unless I soak them. You might be able to digest nuts very well. Certain fruits don't work well for me. So it's all about experimentation, because I'm not foolish enough to think that because something works for me, it can automatically translate to you. That's foolish. What's most important, however, is that you put the life force containing foods within your system. And those are the foods that nature designed for us to eat. And when we eat nature's food, we stimulate and live under the jurisdiction of natural law. This is how we stimulate and invite Arete into our life. Arete is everything, because without moral excellence, you're not going to want to eat healthy, folks. Without having an intelligent mind, you're not going to want to become a upgraded version of yourself. And that's what Arete is. It's constantly looking to improve yourself, living with moral excellence, constantly striving for more, never becoming too comfortable in one position. We've got to constantly strive to grow and grow and grow. We weren't designed to only live to 80 or 70 or 60 years old, folks. This is insane. There are so many people dying at younger ages now. It just blows my mind. Let's break the boundaries, this new world order muck that we're in. Let's destroy the matrix through our actions. Let's get so healthy that we become more real than the fake-ass world around us. Excuse my language, but folks, we are gods contained in flesh vehicles. We are very malnourished here in the matrix, and the New World Order has worked overtime to make sure that we're malnourished, because we are a vehicle that requires raw materials, nutrients, essential minerals, amino acids, vitamins, you name it, fatty acids. We require these in order for our spirit to be ignited within our body. We are a spirit contained within a flesh vehicle. And the New World Order has engineered the food so that it destroys our life force, so that it takes us away from the Kundalini energy, folks. That's why there's all of the garbage in the water that we went over earlier. You don't think they put that in there because they love you, do you? No. Why do you think they're spraying hundreds of thousands of pounds, literal megatons, of aluminum, barium, strontium, mylar fibers, chaff, scalar waves, radioactive isotopes, nanoparticulates into the atmosphere through the stratospheric aerosol injections? This is known as geoengineering or climate intervention by the bigwigs. Most people refer to it as chemtrails. This is a very real program. They are doing this to, quote unquote, combat global warming, to reflect the sun back at itself. But we all know why they're doing this. We are in a petri dish here in this matrix. They are experimenting with the human genome. The masters that run the world, again, you guys, the New World Order, they are chemists, biologists. They are genetic engineers. They are constantly looking at tweaking human health and running experiments on us so that they can gather information about genetics. And that's a very real thing, folks. That is a very real thing. You see, you're living in a science fiction novel. There is a group of evil that runs the world that has deliberately stripped your body of its essential nutrients. And by doing that, they've taken your power away. You see, just like that laptop that you see on the computer or on the table back there requires electricity to work, your body requires essential nutrients to turn on and to be able to function properly. And your consciousness is part of your body. Your consciousness is the software that operates this physical temple. And when your physical temple is malnourished and filled full of garbage and waste and nonsense, your mind does not work properly. So we have to run an antivirus system, metaphorically speaking, just like we would on a computer. We've got to run an antivirus process on our bodies. And we do that by getting rid of the foods on the what not to eat food list. That is step one. So many people want to say, oh, just eat what you want and just take these detox pills and this, that, and the other. No. Detox cannot happen until we regenerate our digestive system. And you will never have a regenerated digestive system, folks, if you're eating gluten. Gluten is Latin for glue. It is a very sticky family of proteins, of which there are two main proteins, gliadin and glutenin. When they go into your digestive system, they don't get broken down and they tumble through your small intestine and destroy your absorptive tissues in your small intestine. That is why so many people are sick. You see, there's a huge agenda behind gluten, and that's why I talk about it so much. They are using gluten to destroy your body's ability to absorb nutrients. This is why it's in the schools, the gluten, and this is why it's at all the fast food joints, the breads. They all contain gluten. And gluten destroys your absorptive tissues in your small intestine, and most of you guys have been eating this for over 10 years. You have 10 years worth of damage done to your absorptive tissues, which is why you can take vitamins, you can take minerals, you can take this, that, and the other. You can drink kale juice, I don't care. If your villi have been damaged from chronic ingestion of gluten, you're not going to be able to absorb the nutrients in those foods. So we have to give our body a break. We've got to disconnect from gluten entirely in the vegetable oils and all of the foods on the what not to eat food list, folks. This is the way out of the matrix. This is the way out of this New World Order pigpen prison cell that we are all stuck in right now. They are tampering with your genetics, folks. Again, they are tampering with your genes. They are manipulating your genome. They want to shut off the entire potential of our DNA. Did you know that? They want to attack our chromosomes. They want to attack us on a subatomic level. They want to manipulate the function of the organelles within our cells. Cells are encased in a cell membrane in which there is cellular fluid, and on the inside there's genetic material, and then surrounding the genetic material are little pieces known as organelles. This translates to little organs. Your cells, each one of them, is a vast labyrinth of living intelligence. And this is how they've shut the Kundalini off, folks. This is how they've shut the life force off. It's through the tinkering with of your genetics, of your cells, of your physiology, of your biology. They're manipulating consciousness. They're manipulating consciousness by destroying the health of the physical body, which is the anchoring point, if you will, for the consciousness. You see, you're a physical temple, a human body with consciousness wired into it. You're like, you ever seen the movie Avatar? They're hijacked or uploaded into a physical body to experience consciousness in a specific dimension. That's what this is, folks. I'm not saying we live in that movie. I'm saying that that's very similar to what's going on here. You do indeed, however, live in the matrix. And the matrix is a control grid which seeks to keep you away from your life force, to keep you away from Arete, to keep you away from reaching Eudaimonia. Because through reaching Eudaimonia, which is accessed only through Arete, moral excellence, living properly, which in diet has a huge role in that. But by keeping us away from Arete, we never experience Kundalini, which is the highest expression of human potential. This is why this diet exists. I want you to flood your body with the proper nutrients. I want you to become radiantly healthy. Now, in the future, I'm going to be doing supplement mastery courses, detox courses, etc. But this first course needed to come out first because it lays the foundation for the rest of what everything else I teach is built upon. Diet is the foundation. Again, I've seen people with anxiety issues. I've seen, long story short, because I have to be careful with what I say, I've seen people increase the quality of their life drastically by making simple changes to their diet, by removing certain things. The gluten and the vegetable oils are the worst. The gluten and the vegetable oils are the worst, folks. So make sure to stay hydrated. Drink at least 2 tall glasses of water a day, preferably with some lemon juice or some cell food, a particular supplement. Consider taking a multi-mineral. I would suggest the K-Pax Immune multivitamin and multi-mineral, and you might even want to consider getting some Shilajit, which is a mineral amalgam that's hundreds of years old. It's all this like decomposed plant minerals and matter that's very bioavailable. It's bound to fulvic, humic, and ulmic acids. This is very good for detoxing the cellular system. But long story short, I just want to see you eat the right foods. Once you do this, you'll experience benefit. I mean, I work with so many clients who have contacted me saying, okay, I'm going to try the gluten-free thing. I'll try it for, 3 weeks. Literally, sometimes a day or two after, people will contact me and say, is this a placebo? I feel much better. My brain fog's disappearing. What's going on here? And I tell them, well, just keep doing what you're doing and see what happens. And more often than not, when people get off the gluten, the clients that I've worked with, they feel so much better that they don't want to get back on the gluten. They don't want to get back on the things that caused the problems in the first place, which are the things on the what not to eat food list. This is all very simple, folks. This is all very simple. This is not complicated. We need to be eating natural foods designed by nature, or the closest thing to natural food as possible. Now, there are certain hybridized foods that man and womankind has developed by mixing certain plants in there, this, that, and the other. There are certain hybrids that, although some things aren't directly designed by nature, certain fruits and vegetables, they still exert a profound effect on human beings in a healthy manner. I hope that makes sense. You see, we're co-creators with the source. We are co-creators with the source. I mean, I've consumed a handful of hybridized peppers that are two peppers that have been crossed, and they have incredible health benefits on the heart. People say, well, you're against genetic engineering and you're against all this, blah, blah, blah. Then why aren't you against synthetics like vitamins? Folks, I'm against the New World Order genetic engineers who are manipulating the human genome. There are great things that can be done through genetic modification, but the companies doing the genetic engineering aren't doing good things. The synthetics that are made in a lab, like the ascorbic acid, the vitamin C, the pterostilbene, the resveratrol, these are very good examples of lab-made constituents that are more often than not isolated out of plants and extracted that are beneficial. Not everything made in a lab is beneficial. When it comes to food, however, folks, we need to be eating as close to natural as possible, which is why I created this system with the what to eat food list. And then on top of that, we further increase the efficacy and power of the Life Force Mastery System diet by eating selective antioxidants, high ORAC foods, and very specific supplements, of which we will talk about in the Supplement Mastery course, which is coming up in the near future. Again, this is the foundation, however. I do indeed hope that it will provide you benefit. I've seen this system work on myself, on loved ones and clients time and time again. A modified system, because I've never actually put a system out before this one, but for the most part, I've been suggesting things on this system for the past 12 years to people that I've worked with, and I've seen it work time and time again. So I'm not making any claims because I'm not a medical doctor. I'm just someone who cares about you and wants to see you thrive. Just eat real food, you guys. Don't worry about calories. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about that. Just worry about getting on to the right materials, and that over time, once you get the right materials into your system, folks, again, over time, once you get the right materials into your system, what will end up happening is you will be able to intuitively know what your body needs. You see, we have a separation from our body's intuition because we eat garbage. And when you eat garbage, you are what you eat. And when you are what you eat and you've made yourself when you've built yourself on suboptimal ingredients, ladies and gentlemen, you're not going to be able to have your mind be intimately connected to the messages that your body's producing. I hope that makes sense. Your body and your mind, they both are supposed to be interweaved and in communication with one another. There's not supposed to be a schism between the two, folks. There's not supposed to be a schism between the two. When you eat healthy, when you get the real materials back into your system, everything starts to work better. And as things start to work better, your mind and your body start to communicate on a harmonic level, not a schism, not a dissociative or disassociated level. It's very simple. The keys to all this are so simple, but the New World Order has everybody trapped in their intellect. They've got everybody trapped by what the experts are saying. The experts, it's just a huge mess. We have been so disconnected from the earthly mother and her angels. We have been so disconnected by the matrix that most people will go their whole life not even knowing that they're in the matrix, and not even knowing that the way out of this mess is so simple. It starts with your body. You are Solomon's temple. You are the key out of the matrix, folks. And it's through your actions in living with Arete and putting the right foods into your system that you begin to transmogrify and transmute into something better. A creature not bound to the bullshit. A creature that has real freedom now, spiritual freedom, eudaimonia. So I'm going to wrap this one up by saying I love you all. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for watching this entire video. I wish you the best. Keep an eye out for upcoming courses. And may the force, ladies and gentlemen, the life force, may the true living life force stay with you. Peace be with you all.